It's time for another lap around the track with all the latest in motorsports interviews. Sometimes we get bent feelings, but we can't wait for the Bent Fender Podcast with your hosts, Nathan Conway and Wes Llewellyn.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Bent Fender Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Porkchop Conway, and that'll be important on this episode. But with me, as always, Wes, the tire sipe Llewellyn.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll explain it to you when we're not on the air.
Okay.
We can't do tires, but some guys do. So anyway, I'm the driver of the number 40 stock car around here locally, and I say locally in the Owensboro, Davis County tri-state area of Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Illinois.
That would be a quad state.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, it's my story, man. I can tell it.
You're so square.
You're so square. Man, we got a great show today. It personally, to me, it means a lot. Shane Sullivan, the driver of the XXV in the Bomber class here at Windy Hollow Speedway and various tracks. He's coming on. How'd I say it, man? He got me into racing. Back in about 1998, I met Shane, and he's the one that got me into racing, and just by letting me come to the track, and a lot echo a lot of the things we heard from Lee Michael Tierney last week. Somebody took him to the racetrack. Somebody invited him to the racetrack, and he's hooked.
Yep.
And I grew up going to the dirt tracks, going to the asphalt tracks and drag strips and things like that with my parents. But I never hung out in the pits. I never got to talk to the people, and I damn sure didn't know somebody with a car.
Right.
And that's a big difference too. So it starts out with you going to the pits and different things and just looking, learning, watching, doing. But when you know somebody, it means a whole lot more. And, from early on, Shane let me get involved. And him and the Robinson crew, Randy Robinson and that family, they let me get involved. And they let me get in there, change some lug nuts, do some things, tighten things, change air pressures, a lot of different things. And, it was a little less involved. For the time, it was still involved, but it's a little less involved than maybe what we do now. But,
right.
But it's because we don't just jack the whole car up and change everything, suspension thing at the track and all this. It just wasn't that way back then, the old cruiser class, and I'm talking about the late 90s here. And, it's what a bomber class would be today if the bombers weren't already getting out of hand again. But anyway, now, the bomber class is an entertaining class, and it's a good thing, and I'm glad we have it. But especially, guys, for, Shane and Chris Bunch now and Bill Mormon's dropping down and running some of those races and making it something special. So
sure. That's
pretty cool. But anyway, Shane got me involved in racing, and I've never looked back. I've always been involved in it. I took a break for 4 or 5 years and here and there, but I've always been involved in it, and I couldn't have done it without them, and that's where it started. And his wife at the time, Misty, she I rode in Shane's car. Misty drove the feature that night. Shane drove the heat night. Misty drove the feature. That's the way they used to do it. You could have riders then in the cruiser class, and hopefully we'll hear some stories about that old class here in a little while, and I'm going to ask Shane about it. But it got me hooked from the start, man. I got to ride my very first race around Windy Hollow Speedway, and I loved it from the start.
Well, and I think
my mom hated it from that day. So
she still hates it.
Oh, absolutely.
Will not watch you race. And I think that's just a mom thing. But again, for me, I know how special this episode is to you. And I get to check off another box. Get to talk to a bomber driver. Mm-hmm. Another class of cars that I've not met before. And I think that we just keep doing what we're doing, and we keep getting more drivers, and we get more experiences, just like you do with seat time.
Yeah.
Just like this, we're getting seat time. We're bringing more people in, and we're doing a good thing.
Well, and we are. And, I like to think so. If you don't think so, I can listen to some episodes.
Or let us know if you don't think so.
Yeah, let us know. And hey, that's the cool thing is we've seen that on Podbean. Hey, we're starting to get some reviews, some people, comment on episodes, and that's what we want.
Engagement.
Yeah. If you don't like it, tell us. You don't like it, tell us what you don't like about it. Because, we're not, while we're not going to cater specifically, but we can if we're doing something stupid or doing something crappy, hey, we don't know that. Hey, we're just doing what we know how to do.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it is our show, and we can only do it. We can only do it how we can do it. I don't know how how else.
But we're learning.
Yeah,
this was the first podcast that either one of us had ever done, and you'll notice that on the beginning of this episode we have a brand new intro.
We do.
We have a produced intro with music and race effects and a big voice introducing us. And I'm
Big John. No, listen,
I'm excited about it. So we're just we're continuing to grow and find our way. And
I know it took 12 episodes to get a damn intro, but no, it really didn't. I mean, here's the thing, guys. A lot of what you may not know about podcasting is one of the things, and Billy Igler can definitely speak to this and did so. Time management, time, scheduling, getting people in the right places to do things. We're asking people to do stuff for us, and I'm not saying we're begging them, but they're doing this stuff out of the goodness of their heart.
Right.
A buddy of mine, Norman Byers, worked with for over 10 years now. We work together all the time. I mean, we work the same job. Both jobs I have, we work together, and he's my friggin' boss at both of them, but don't let him don't go to his head. But anyway, Norman came on and recorded some of our commercials for us. Norman was in radio back in the 80s and 90s, and he knows what he's doing. Hasn't done it in years. Absolutely loved it. He's like, thank you for letting me do that. You know what I mean? And now, I've contacted Steve Horn, and he has come on board and done some of our commercials for us.
He has.
And did a phenomenal job. And it sounds awesome. And it can't get any more. And you're going to hear them. And you probably heard them last episode. It can't get any more professional than that. It can't do it. So, here's the thing. For your business, and I'm going to be shameless. Look at what we can do for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what we can do for the businesses that we already have. And the ones that we, come on and help us out. That's a shameless plug, man. I don't care. Here's the thing. Help us out. Help us grow. We're trying to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it regardless.
And you're listening to us.
Yeah.
There are things that you want from us. Help us make that happen.
And yeah, because people already, all right, break it down like this. A, you got a group of people that want the old timers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We want to do that. B, we got a group of people that want not only old timers, but a bunch of old timers at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to do that. We're getting the equipment. We got some new equipment actually getting delivered today,
mm-hmm.
which is going to make life a little bit easier. But guys, just like racing, it's out of pocket.
It is.
And we're not begging you to pay for our podcast, but it will ease the pain, and it will get us there so much faster. We're not afraid to spend our money.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get there eventually, but we want to get there sooner for you guys.
Yeah, because because here's the thing, the clock's ticking. And we realize that on older racers and elderly people and things like that, the clock's ticking, and we've got to get these stories out. Now, I'm not saying we have to do it all in a month. I realize that, and we can't do it.
No.
But we can damn sure try to get is what we can when we can get it with the equipment that we have. We've got great equipment,
mm-hmm.
thanks to Wes, and he's come on board, and this is all his stuff. And this is stuff that he's, graciously let me use, and it's pretty cool. So we're doing a good thing. And guys, don't think I'm begging for your money, but I'm begging for your money. A little bit of it. I mean,
I'll beg.
It's very, very affordable.
It is.
It really is. The podcast. We're not asking you to buy a $500 hood on a car. Hey, $20-$30 a week.
Well, a month.
I'm sorry, a month. So $20-$30 a month. That's even better, man. You can break it down to 4 payments. No, I'm just kidding. But
we can be PBS. We can quality programming.
Like you.
Absolutely.
But no, we want to get that together, and we want to promote your business, and we will promote your race team. I don't care if it's a race team. If it's individual, we'll promote you. Whatever you got. We're doing a damn good job of it right now. So,
I think so.
Anyway.
So speaking of promoting businesses, we have some that we should promote.
Yeah, absolutely. Mach 5, race cars, parts, and carts. See John Hayden and those people down there on West 2nd Street. Fairview IT Management. Go see Gabriel Kirtley and his gang for all your computer needs and your system infrastructure. They do security systems, cameras, all kinds of stuff. They've got a myriad of things they do. Martin's Towing and Recovery, good friend of the podcast, a long-time racer. Chad's Barbershop here in Whitesville, Kentucky, just right out on 764, just outside of town. Glenstone Construction, that's my father-in-law. I ain't afraid to say it. He does a lot for us, and we can't thank him enough. And Slingshot Media Group, doing all our advertising on their TVs. 17 locations so far?
17 locations, 14 screens, or vice versa, one of the two.
Yeah, lots
double
of
digits.
Yeah, and it's those TVs that you see at Beef O'Brady's, at Real Hacienda, different places like that put on advertising and businesses. Hey, we're on there, guys. Ben Fender Podcast right there coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us a look. So we can't thank those guys enough. Kevin Russell, Gabriel Kirtley, both involved in that. So we thank them. As always, we're involved with Casper Racing, Phantom 309 Racing, Blaze Mountain Racing. We want to thank our personal podcast sponsors, specifically high octane racewear and graphics, and
Apparel.
Apparel and things, and a sundry of things for your racing team, and Josh Tyler, also on West 2nd Street, just up from Mach 5, as a matter of fact, about a block and a half away.
Yep.
And also Willie's Carbon Dyno Shop in Marion, Illinois. So great bunch of guys. Billy Egler specifically for helping us out. So guys, if you want to find us, I can't imagine why you would want to find us if you've already found us, but tell your friends to find us.
Right.
And help them out. You can find us on Facebook, Conway Racing Team, Twitter at Conway Race Team, Instagram Conway Racing, and our website, super important, undergoing an overhaul right now, I understand.
It is.
At my behest? No,
it's
Wes-
spring
Wes knows
cleaning.
what he's doing. It is
Spring cleaning.
We got new colors
On the car?
we got new sponsors. We got different things. We got the podcast is growing. So we need to tell you about it. So www.conwayracingteam.com.
Yep.
Head on over there. We've got a lot of different things over there that you can click around and put it in your trash bin or whatever you want to do with it. So. As always, make sure you go support your local racetracks. So we're going to say that again, probably at the outro, but make sure you support your local racetracks. Support your local radio show, Regional Motorsports Power Hour, Blake Smith, every Monday night, Maloney's in Owensboro, 7 to 8:30. And last time I said 8 to 7:30. I was like, hey, you can't do that, really? That's backwards in time, and we're not Doc Brown. So, that's
true.
Every Monday night for Maloney's. They were off for Memorial Day, but they're going to be back again this Monday. We're going to be there.
It's true.
To hawk the podcast and hawk our guests,
Yep.
for sure. And we might hawk Wes right out the door. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
That's sad.
Throw you over the top. You're out, buddy. You're out of the rumble. You're going over the top rope.
As long as my feet touch the floor.
Well, man, we wasted enough time.
Yep.
We definitely want to get to Shane Sullivan. And like I said, he's got a lot of stuff to say, I'm sure. So never one to shy away from the truth is he. So anyway, we're going to pay some bills. Let you hear some of those awesome commercials, and we'll be right back on the other side with Shane Sullivan.
Let's face it, we love racing. We need to keep those race machines in tip-top shape to stay competitive. That's why we rely on Mach 5 race cars and parts located at 2035 West 2nd Street in Owensboro, Kentucky. They specialize in stock cars, but you'll find all the parts you need for your racing, go-karts as well. They are your go-to experts for parts, wheels, tires, fuel, and a wide variety of other items to keep you on the track. They have hundreds of parts in stock and can special order thousands of others. Give John Hayden a call at 270-240-5587.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from the break. I told you guys it was a special episode for me, man. We're going to have Shane Sullivan coming on here in just a second, and driver of the XXV bomber car at Windy Hollow and various tracks. Shane, welcome to the show, buddy. I appreciate you coming on and wanting to hang out with us and talk to us a little bit.
Thank you, sir. It's been a long time. I don't get to see you as much as I used to.
No, we did work together. I guess I met you back in '98. You were already racing. So when did you get into the sport before that?
I guess I started in racing when I was 5. My
5.
dad put me in a go-kart at 5 years old, and I raced for about till I was 8 years old in go-karts, and then moved up from there. And don't quote me on this, but I'm not 100% sure what those were called. But they were it was a non-wing sprint. I raced them out at the Davis County Fairgrounds and at Evansville in a warehouse over there.
Wow.
So that's where I kind of got my start at. Really and truly, I guess racing was always in our family because my dad was demolition derby.
Oh yeah.
Don't know that he ever did any circle track racing. Mm-hmm. My mom was she worked at Windy Hollow. She run the restaurant and the racetrack back when I was a kid. So Rooster and Howe, I was always familiarized with racing. Yeah. Which I took a episode of taking off from go-kart racing, sprint car, I guess when I was about 12. And didn't even think about racing. Had no just of even getting into it. Still had my go-kart up until I was 16 years old. Stayed in my closet.
Dang. Whose closet's that big, man? What are you doing?
Well, just some life-changing things happened with my parents and stuff, and which we couldn't do it anymore. Didn't even think about racing or anything like that. Kind of did the drag racing scene for a little while because young kid out, got his license.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to start doing a little bit of, whatever. Not the most legalist thing in the world, I guess.
No.
But back then it was kind of tolerated. I don't guess I really got started in big car racing until about 94. Danny Fulkerson, which was my ex's father-in-law, he raced out at KMS, and he did a few dirt track races. Kind of got me started in that. That's where I kind of cut my teeth in big car, was at the asphalt track, Kentucky Motor Speedway. Started out there and kind of worked my way up. You know, first I had to start out from the ground. You know, I had to start working on the cars. You know, I spent two or 3 years just working on cars and doing the grunt work. You know, the stuff that young people don't want to do.
That's right,
you know,
man.
But that's how you get to learn the mechanics and how to work on cars and what makes them work.
Right.
I got to praise that guy a lot, man. I mean, that dude right there put the work ethic in me behind a race car and the know-how to do what I do today.
Right.
I mean, he was there beside me for many years until he got out. And I just kept on. You know, asphalt was a great thing. I liked racing asphalt. It's clean.
It's a lot cleaner.
It's not as hard on your equipment. But, you know, Jack Vick opened up that track out there at Windy Hollow, and I went, and I was like, wow, this is for a driver. This is not like going out there and turn the steering wheel 2 inches to one way. This is back and forth. You literally got to drive a car.
Oh, yeah.
And from there, I guess that kind of evolved from there. You know, I never expected to ever do what I've done in racing in my life, because a lot of people don't get the opportunities that I've gotten, and to be able to have the money that I've had to be able to put into racing, because I probably went broke a couple of times doing this.
I know the feeling, man.
Because racing is a drug.
It is.
Most people take other types of drugs to satisfy their needs, but racing is like no other. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's addicting. You'll spend every last dollar you got to be able to do what you're doing. So from there, I went from dirt tracks, you know, Windy Hollow, Mac Henry, what they used to call Soggy Bottoms, which is now Cedar Ridge. Went to Chandler. I mean, I've kind of done all those tracks. I've won a lot of races in my time.
You raced at Tri-State Speedway at some point, didn't you?
I did one time.
Yeah, I remember.
It was just an enduro race, but I don't. That's just where it is, and that's where I've evolved from today. You know, I took a retirement in racing for a while. Kids, my kids got older. You know, it was time for them. Softball, things like that. Dad's got to back up. You know, there ain't no time for racing anymore. That's probably a hard thing in my life to take out of. You know, to pull away from the racing community, because I mean that was a thing that you get it in your life. It's hard to get out. And the only way to get out of it is to get out.
Oh, to get out totally. And you did.
Totally. I did. I sold everything I had. I didn't even go to a racetrack. I bet it was 8 years. My first time to Cedar Ridge was last year, and it had been 10 years since I'd been to Cedar Ridge. 10 years to that track. I don't know. It was one of the things. I'm blessed with what I've got now.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, I drove my own cars. I've owned all my own cars. I've teamed up with a lot of people over the years. Yeah. You know, I mean, I was with my ex Misty. We raced a car together. You did. Then we kind of split off from that. You know, I went driving for other people. I've had other people with me driving. You know, back then you could have two people in a car.
Oh yeah.
And
we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah.
Right. I'm blessed that I've got the opportunity today to be able to get behind the wheel of a car again. And I wouldn't be able to do that without my wife and kids and Melvin Miller and that crew right there, because I've drove just about anything that there is out there, from asphalt to dirt, from go-karts to sprints. I've done just about everything. And you know, when I retired, it was one of them things. My retirement was about whenever I went to Salem. I built a brand new dirt car. Kink offered me a Salem ride to run down to Salem. Me and Dwayne Richardson went down there. I felt success.
All right.
You know, we finished 15th out of 86 cars that started tailing on the field.
Man, I'll tell you what.
Dwayne drove part of it. I drove part of it. But we brought a car home that day. I finished 15th out of the race. That was a success. And running 121 mile an hour around Salem Motor Speedway, you get out of that car and then you go back to what we're running right now, there's no fun. You get in, I mean, it's literally, you're like, when am I going to go?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking around, asking, when am I going to go?
Hammer down and,
And that point in my life right there, I always set goals every year to what I want to do in racing, whether it's for myself or driving for somebody. And at that point, I was kind of done, I had succeeded in my life for what I wanted to do. And it was time for my kids. So it was just time to step back. Now, I helped out in the racing community. I'd helped Barry Snyder, Melvin, Bill Mormon. I helped a lot of people. I've helped out a lot of people over the years. But it was just time to step back and get away.
And, well, I think that if you look at it like that, there's a time there's a time for everything.
Right.
And you had a point to your life where you had time to race and you had and the means and things and it worked out that way. But then we talk about life getting in the way and we shouldn't talk about it like that because at the end of the day that is far more important than racing will ever be. Those cars, if they go away tomorrow, we didn't lose anything. I mean,
right.
We lost a point of our life, but we lose our family and our kids over something like that. That's not what it's about.
Right.
And I've seen guys do that, and I've seen guys just damn near mortgage their houses
I've seen a lot of people fall from that. I mean, don't think I haven't made bad choices to be able to go to the racetrack because I have. I mean, I never did sacrifice my kids any. I made sure first and foremost that they were taken care of. But yeah, there were some things I sacrificed to be able to go racing. And as you get older, you think about it and you're like, man, how dumb was I? Look how much money I wasted doing all this. I mean, it's basically just throwing money out the door at some point. But you're getting that gratification at the end of the night. You're getting rid of that adrenaline rush that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Until you do it.
They don't.
I mean, it's just.
Well, I guess when I met you, so we're going back to '98 here. Working at Kroger's, so that was my first job.
Right.
And we got to talking. I don't even know how we even got to talking about it, but we brought up racing some way, or cars. And you're like, man, you ever go to the dirt track? I'm like, we talking about Windy House. Man, I ain't been in a long time. I used to go out there with mom and dad. But you're like, well, you ought to, and you invited me to the races.
Right.
And you're like, come to the races. We're going to race, X day, Sunday nights then. And you're like, just come to pits and hang out. Of course, pit was $20.
Right. A whole lot cheaper back then.
Now I'm working at Kroger now, and you're not probably making a whole hell of a lot more then, but we're making $5-6 an hour.
Right.
So at $20, hey, that was premium prices then. But
right.
You think about it now, but and you let me come into the pits. Now we're talking about. I remember it was the 0202 ride.
Right.
And I want to talk about those numbers in a few minutes, but
gotcha.
The 202 ride, and I guess it was you and Randy,
right,
and Misty.
Yeah.
And was it that first night that I got to ride, or was it? It was a couple nights later because I think it was a couple nights later.
It was
because you were like, hey, I threw in, man. I was like, you're like, we got to change that tire, and I think somebody got a flat, and I come in, hey, I can grab tires off just the same as anybody, as long as somebody's
right.
jacking, somebody's working the lug nuts. Now, guys, you got to think. We're doing this with a four-way. This is the way we used to do stuff. All these guys with these, speed guns and everything else, and we have them, but we did this with four ways.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, if you don't think that you can change a flat tire in those pits under 2 laps of caution at Windy Hollow, you can do it with a four-way.
I probably can't do it. I don't know if I can do it today.
I don't know if I can do it today either.
Yeah, I've gotten a whole lot older and a lot fatter.
Yeah,
so.
I know. But we can do it, and
right.
People don't understand. We're talking about. I guess I should throw it back for just a second. And I talked to you the other day about the reason why this is cool, and it's personal to me because you got me into racing.
Right.
And there's other special people in racing through my life with Jason Capps and slash Sally, and the Revlets, Casper Teddy and
right.
Chris Anderson and Keith Martin. They've all helped me. But it all starts somewhere, and I didn't understand what went in it, and I'm a 16-year-old kid at the time.
Right.
And to be able to be invited by somebody, and this is what we talk about on this show all the time, is just invite somebody to the races, man. And
right.
We talked to Lee Michael Tierney on the last episode, his journey almost started the exact same way.
Right.
Somebody took him to the races. He got in the pits. He just started talking to guys.
It's an addiction.
It is.
I mean, in all honesty, and the racing community is like no other. I mean, all honesty, I know there's rivals out there. There's people that you don't like. But in all, if you walked up to that person, all honesty, and asked them for something, they might say no. But then again, if they've got it, they'll give it to you.
Oh, yeah.
And with that kind of what I consider as a family, and a lot of people don't look at it as that, but that's the way I look at it. It's hard not to get into a sport like that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my son got into go-kart racing. I got him into go-kart racing because I wasn't racing, so I had to do something to kind of, I mean, I tried RC car racing after big car racing, and it was good for me. I did a great thing. Me and my kids got to do that together.
You kept breaking it because you couldn't figure out how to get into damn
Well,
thing.
right. And we got to do that kind of stuff together. But, you know, whenever my son got into it, go-kart racing's kind of a different community. You know, they're all about... And I guess big car racing is too. You know, stock car racing is one of the things that, you know, you got your secrets, I got mine. Yeah. But, you know, if I walked over and asked you what air pressure you choose running, you're probably going to tell me what air pressure you got running.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Most people in go-kart communities like, oh, yeah, I'm running this. And they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the difference in communities, you know. My son jumped in go-karts. We did it for about 2 years. And he looked at me one day and said, I'm done. I don't like this anymore. He was great at what he did, you know. Did he win a bunch of races? No. But he was there every week, you know. That started him in racing. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where he's at today. You know, he wants to race.
Yeah.
And that was at 12 years old, you know. Just getting people out there. You know, I got my daughter's boyfriend. He comes out there and he's like, man, I really like this, you know. He'd never been to a racetrack before. Yeah. You know, a lot of people misconcept. And my wife that has this conception of people, whenever they go to dirt track, they're dirty, they're hillbillies, and they had no money.
That's that. You know.
I mean, if you ask people, that's what they honestly think that you are.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
I mean, I'm not dirty. I might get dirty.
Yeah.
I got to race a dirt track car, but that's the misconception that a lot of people in the community have about dirt track racers or racers in general.
Right.
They're dirty hillbillies. They ain't got nothing better else to do with their money. Just go out and waste it. But if you ever get out there and get with that, yeah, there are some dirty people. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
anything, you know.
Honestly, there is. Yeah. But all in all, it's a family. Maybe. You know, I mean, no matter what, my wife hates it whenever we go out shopping or anything else because, you know, those people that are in the stands, you know, I've got people run up to me, kids and everything else run up to me, hey, XXV, you know. I mean, I'm like, who are you? Yeah. Oh, we watch you every week. I didn't know them.
Yeah, you're right.
But they know me. I had no clue that they were out there. But, you know, that kind of involvement, you know, that's kids and adults and everything else. They all come together out there. Yeah. Even when our racers fall and everything else, you know, there's people out there that come together. So.
Well, you're right, you know, and you're going to find that you're going to find a few bad apples in the whole bunch when you take it about it. And there are some guys out there and ladies, whatever you choose to run, but that are self-serving, and they're going to be. And you know, throughout my career a lot, I figured that out. You know that people there's two kinds, but it's mostly good.
Right.
And I've had people. You know, when I thought they wouldn't help, and I'm like, that dude ain't gonna help me, you know, or this person ain't gonna help me. I ain't asking them, man. They're too big, man. They're too busy for me, man.
Right.
And then go over there and just say, all right, I don't know what the heck's going on with this car.
Right.
Did you try this? Did you try that? No, I didn't. We'll try that. See what that does.
Right.
You know, well, you know, this is what I've done. I don't know if it'll work on yours, but hey, just try it. See what's happening.
And we just talked about that a while ago out there with your own car.
Yeah.
So, I mean. Racing I think racing's a great thing. Our community around here doesn't look at it like that as much as what it did back in the day, because a lot of people in this town frown upon things like that. Yeah. I mean, all honesty, you know, our barbecue festival used to be a thing about race cars.
Oh yeah.
Car shows. Now you go down there, you don't see nothing.
Yeah.
But our barbecue festival used to be one of the biggest barbecue festivals around. You go down there now, they say it's still the biggest, but I don't see it.
Nah.
You go down there now, you can walk anywhere you want to. Me and my wife go down there every year. We just walk through there like we took our grandkids this year, and there's nothing down there.
You think back in the 90s, you wouldn't have took grandkids now because you couldn't walk.
You couldn't walk.
You can't drag them around.
You couldn't walk.
Yeah.
But, no, a lot of people just need to go out and visit a place like that. I mean, what is it to get in the stands? $10?
Yeah.
$10.
Yeah. How much more? You go to the movies, you're going to spend $300.
Right.
I mean, let's get real. By the time you buy popcorn and
right.
You got to purchase the movie from the studio. So, but no, what I'm saying is, you're right. And you mentioned back in the day, and a lot of kids say that, and that's 5 minutes ago to them. But we're talking about we're coming up on 20 years ago.
20 years.
That I've known you, and we talk about back in the day, and this is why what I was getting at earlier, why this episode was special too, is that people know you now, and you're getting there because you've been racing for a couple of years now,
right?
And you get, they know the XXV, and of course that's a number that's been around for a long, long time. I mean,
it has.
Even back to Paul Miles and all those guys, but they know that car, and they know those colors, and they know you now, but they don't know. What's funny is they see what you've done in the last 2 years.
Right.
And there's, man, this guy's, man, he's good, man. He's been driving a couple of years now. No. You've been driving for 25 years.
Right.
And they don't understand that when back in the day, when we all talk about, and we've had several people on here, back when racing was big, man, and 150 cars in the pits and all this. That's no lie.
That's no lie.
And we were there.
Yeah. I mean, what Bombers is now used to be Cruiser.
Oh, yeah.
It was nothing for us to have an A and a B main feature. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was nothing to have 40 cars of Cruisers out there, which, I mind you not, Cruisers are not what Cruisers were back then. They're Bombers, but they're not even Bombers back then. But whatever. It was basically a scrapper car, to be honest.
Hell yeah.
But
just a Caprice.
Right.
Or Monte Carlo.
But to be back then, I mean, you was racing against some some very, very stiff competition. You still are today, just not the magnitude that it is.
Right.
We got 15 cars on the track, maybe. Back then, you had a full rim of 21 cars on the track. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you had to make it into that A feature. You don't have that nowadays. And that's another reason I got out of racing. Because, number one, the fun. My kids, the fun went away.
Yeah.
And where the fun goes away, I'm out. Because if I can't do what I like and have a good time at it, there's going to be ups and downs. Right. I understand. I've been there. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be good days. But the fun got out, and there wasn't nothing. I don't want to say there wasn't no competition, but the competition was not at the level that we were at back in the day.
No.
I mean, there was just not that competition back then. Yes, you did. You had top 5 cars. Mm-hmm. Mark Stallings, Bill Mormon, Curtis Stallings,
Ronnie Falloway.
Ronnie, you had. I'm just talking about in the divisions that I run. Like Terry Sparks. I mean, could
look at what he did.
Right, you couldn't throw a blanket over and not know who was going to win. I mean, pull a blanket off, you didn't know who was going to get it. Mm-hmm. It's not like that nowadays, but our society's made it that way, and I shouldn't say this, but social media.
That is true.
I mean, social media has kind of hurt us all.
Well, and I do want to get to that in here in just a second. But what I want to talk about, and staying on the same vein we were at, guys that don't remember, and what I was saying was, and I like to promote guys that are on the show. But what you were able to do way back when, and being in the old cruiser class and having. Now, guys, we think about Caprices and Monte Carlos and stuff like that, and you're right. It was like a bomber class because that was more the lowest class because this is when you had street stock and pure stock and things like that, and we didn't have Rusty Bolt. We didn't have any of that.
Right.
I remember the 202. Whenever I got out there, I was like, man, race car, this is cool, and big. It was at the Buick. No, that wasn't the Buick. That was the next year. Mm-hmm. But that was the Caprice, and had a bench seat. Had the stock bench seat in it.
Stock column, stock dash.
Yep, with a 4-point cage.
Yep.
And had the racing belts bolted on it.
Yep.
And 4-point harness, and that's what it was.
Yep.
And that was racing. And I'm gonna tell you guys, if you weren't around back then, or you didn't go to the racetrack back then, it was something to see, because you were talking stock rims, DOT tires, stock steel rims. Now, not the welded little ones, but
Right.
Stock steel rims. You know, and what it's evolved into today,
Right.
and how much different it is. But you know, some of those cars are still around, kind of like what you're doing now.
Right. Well, before that car, still at Windy Hall, just a door plate was all we had to run. Bolted on door plate, stock belts, stock seat belts, stock seat. That's what we run. Basically what a scrapper car is today.
Nobody died yet.
Nobody died.
Not one person.
Nobody died. But that's how it all started out, you know. I mean, now when I was at Asphalt, we had cages and everything else in our cars. But, yeah, that's where it started at, you know. With just a stock car. You knock the windows out of it, throw a door plate on it, change some wheels around, and go racing.
That's right.
And I had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, had an absolute blast. But then it just started it evolved more and more all the time. You know, we kept adding, and here we are today.
Well, I do want to ask you about one thing before we get back into some of the old stories too. You know, when you think about all the motorsports, and especially stuff that you run basically round track, but you've done some straight line stuff. And I want to bring up, you know, you have been in some demolition derbies.
I have,
and that's not on a stock car track. Even though that's probably happened a couple times too.
yeah,
these are meant to happen,
right?
But you think about all the forms of racing just that you've been involved in. But it can be through your whole life if you just think about motorsports in general. Is stock car racing it for you? Or I grew up being a drag race fan, but now I got into circle track or monster trucks or whatever. You know, I mean, has that always been?
I can do it all. I mean, if
you ever get a monster truck, you better call me, man.
If you line up beside me on the side of the road and you want a challenge, I mean, I'm there still. You know, if I don't know that I'd do a derby car now because I don't know if my body can take it now. Because derbying is very hard. But if somebody offered me a derby car to run, don't think I wouldn't do it. Me and Melvin's talked about putting a derby car together, a circle track derby car. And we've talked about doing that. I would probably do it again. Anything in racing, car shows, I mean, drifting, it don't matter. I'm there.
Yeah.
I enjoy anything to do with motorsports. It can be four-wheelers, like I said, go-karts, all that stuff. I'm in for it. You know, it doesn't matter. I don't have this one thing, I've got to do dirt track, circle track only. You know, I race Friday night at Windy Hall, race Sunday night at Kentucky Motor Speedway.
No.
So, I mean, I'm switching it up. You know, there for a long time, I was running a scrapper car at Windy Hall and my bomber car.
Dang.
So, it's not that I just have to do one thing. You know, most people say, well, I'm just running cruiser and that's all I'm ever doing, yada, yada, yada. No. I'll do it all. It don't matter. If you tell me to get on a motorcycle and go out there and ride around, I'm going to go out there on a motorcycle. If you want me out there in a water truck, I'm going to be out there in a water truck.
We'll race water trucks.
We'll race water trucks. It don't matter to me.
They're only going to get faster as they empty out.
Right. But yeah, that's just, I've never had just one thing in life, you know. I mean, I did RC car racing.
Yeah.
For a long time, you know. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was just a different form of motorsports. I've done boats. I've done it all. I mean,
mud truck. Hey, did you do mud truck?
Yeah, I have. I've had a few of those. It's just one of the things that I've never just been classified to do one thing in life.
Well, I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know if that was just, you know, when you at the end of the day, when you close your eyes, you're like, you know, I'm a stock car racer, and that's what I am. But you're not. You're just anything with an engine.
Anything to do with motorsports or anything like that, and it don't have to necessarily be with an engine. You know, I mean.
No.
I work on cars on a daily basis, you know. I just take pride in whatever I do. That's one of the big things. I do take 100% pride in whatever I do. Right. Yeah, I'm not subject to just one thing. If you tell me let's go to the drag strip, I'm going to the drag strip. Let's go. If you want to race out there on the street, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't matter.
Well, we can see who mows my lawn the fastest. It needs it bad.
Right.
I'll give you the rider. I'll push.
Well, I got my own rider. I bet I can outdo you.
Is it on top of the Camry out there?
No, it's not. It's at home.
Yeah, there you go. How fast do you think you can get here racing it up the road?
It'll run about 12, 13 miles an hour.
Oh man, he'd be here in about 15 minutes. Anyway, man, I want to touch on this before we go to the break. Now, again, you think about all your years. I mean, this is from back when you got to go into the track with your dad and all that stuff. You think about, do you have any favorite drivers now? And this can be, I mean, from the span of 30 years in racing, and who are they, and how come you?
Well, I mean, Danny Fulkerson was one. I mean, really and truly, Danny Fulkerson, Timmy Kirtley, Larry McMahon. Mm-hmm. I was right there with those guys. Those guys are the ones that kind of taught me, and I was running with those people at that time. Danny Falloway, Ricky Rudd.
Oh, yeah.
I looked up to Ricky Rudd when I hit the dirt track. I looked up to Danny Falloway because, without Danny Falloway, I probably wouldn't even been able to get into racing, really. I mean, he was a big supporter in the racing community.
Oh.
I mean, Bill Mormon. I mean, I looked up to all those guys. I mean, you go out there and you watch those guys. Ricky Estes, Nick Estes.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about people that don't race really nowadays, other than like Bill Mormon. Those guys were at their elite, and you go out there and watch those guys, you're going to watch a show. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You're going to watch a show. I watch Clint Colley run around the track a lot. I mean, Jug Colley, those people right there kind of give you the drive to be able to keep going with what you're doing because of you want to better yourself. I want to be at that competition level,
Yeah.
I want to be right there with those people. Will I ever make it to that? I don't know. I mean, have I made it to that? Maybe. It just depends on whose eyes you're looking through,
Yeah.
But those guys right there inspired me a lot. They kept me. Kink, Steve Bowman. I mean, that guy right there taught me a ton, I mean, that guy's the one that showed me how to build a cage, weld the cage in. Danny Fulkerson was the one that taught me how to prep a car, build a car from the ground up to the top, It's not going out here and pulling out of your backyard and putting a motor in it and going racing. No, he built a car from the ground up. Those are the guys that really, in my heart, was the people who got me to where I'm at today and that I look up to tremendously, which Larry McMahon's not with us anymore, but a great man. I mean, that guy right there, he was one of them I really looked up to a lot. Danny and all of them are still around. They just ain't in the racing community anymore,
Right.
That's it goes back to what I call a drug. That drug, they had to get away from it. Or if not, then they was going to keep on just feeding it.
Well, not to talk about it negatively.
Right.
And we don't because, we talk about it being a drug. And it is not like any drug you're talking about.
Right.
Like, that way you would think. But it does, I mean, you got to think about it this way. It does use you up.
It does.
At some point. I mean, it gets harder as you get older.
It does.
And, it's harder to lay on those concrete floors and roll around. And I know we got creepers and stuff. It's still hard on you, man.
Right.
And climbing in through cages. It's like climbing in a jungle gym, man.
Right.
You get upside down and weld this and sparks in your face and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And it does take, a toll on time, money, families. And it's very, very expensive. I mean, but like golf's not.
Well,
boating or whatever.
I have people tell me, I don't know why you just waste all your money on that. I was like, what do you do? Well, I go play golf. What's it cost you to go play golf? Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. If you're hunting, fishing, golfing, riding up and down the road on a motorcycle, whatever it is, everybody has their niche. I don't care if it's playing on a game on a computer or what it is. You're spending money. You're just not looking at it like that.
Right.
Or if you're out eating.
Mm-hmm.
If it's your niche to go out and eat out 3 days a week, well, how much you spending out on that every week? Yeah. That you're flushing down the toilet. It's all the same.
Literally.
I mean, seriously, that's just the way you have to look at it. Hunting. It's every year you got to upgrade everything that you got.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like that you get to this, oh, well, I get to keep this for the next 10 years. If you want to be any better, no, you don't. You got to keep upgrading.
Oh, yeah.
People don't look at it like that.
And let me tell you, if you put camo on it, you better add about $30 to whatever it is.
Everything. It don't matter if it's your underwear, your socks,
yeah,
your bow, whatever it is. It costs you a bunch of money. I know. I got a couple pair.
Well, Shane, I'll tell you what. It's time for the first break. We're going to go to the break, and we'll come back, and we'll start pick up this conversation because, man, I'm having a blast.
Got you.
So we'll be back right after this.
Having trouble getting your business vehicle noticed? Want your race machine to look sharp on and off the track? Give Josh Tyler a call at High Octane Wraps and Apparel. They specialize in high-quality vinyl graphics as well as full vehicle vinyl wraps. They can handle jobs of all sizes, whether it's your racing go-kart all the way up to your semi-truck. With a quick turnaround and design and install, you can truly call today and look good tomorrow. Give them a call at 270-929-2605 or stop by their shop located at 2531 West 2nd Street in Owensboro.
And we're back from the break. We're still sitting here with Shane Sullivan. He's been gracious enough to come up and hang out at the Conway kitchen table. We're not on field trip this week. But, Shane, I want to ask you real quick, race day rituals. You know, we ask pretty much everybody we have on here, especially the drivers. And, you know, you think about all the stuff in preparation that goes into a race day, but there's got to be something that you just got to do before you go to the racetrack, whether it's, you know, listen to music or, you know, whatever, grilling burgers or, you know, it has to be good luck or whatever. So you've had so much success.
Well, I mean, I guess over the time I've changed a few of them, but I guess the biggest thing is just making, you know, before I go out to the track or anything, I do make sure that the car's topped off. My tires are my biggest thing. I guess that's just one of the things I've always checked on every time before I go. Even if I'm supposed to be pulling up or I'm checking tires. When I sit in that car, my biggest race ritual is I sit in that car and say a prayer. And I always wipe my gauges off for some reason. I don't know why, but there's something about that. I reach up there and take that finger and run around each one of them every time. I don't know why, but it's just something I've done ever since I've been racing. Yeah. But as far as getting ready and stuff, I mean, now, back whenever I was doing it all on my own, I mean, I had to do it all on my own. So I always had, back then I had my car loaded up the day before racing. Now that I'm driving for somebody, you know, I pick up the day of racing. We're loaded up in the enclosed. But I don't have to prep the car as much now because they do it all. You know, I've got a great class of people. You know, Melvin, Colton, Bunch, Bill, all those guys work on that car. I do too. Yep. Now, I don't devote the time that Melvin does because Melvin is in the garage more than anybody I've ever known in racing. Yep. And racing is one of the things that you've got to spend a lot of time to do it. That's one of the reasons I got out of it. You know, racing's a 40-hour, 50-hour week deal if you want to be competitive.
Oh.
But as far as rituals now, I mean, it's basically just saying a prayer and checking tires. I mean, that's kind of my thing, you know. It's not like I got to wear a certain pair of underwear or a pair of socks or anything like that. I mean, I go as I am, and pretty much that's just it. You know, I know people's got favorite shirts that they have to wear and jackets and all that. Pfft, nah.
That don't make the success.
It don't make me. I used to think of that, you know, if you had superstitions, you know. Nah. Just put on your clothes and let's go.
That's true.
Let's get it. I used to, you know, back in the day, you know, I used to get them butterflies and about puke over in staging, but.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not you, man.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, I did. There was no doubt about that. There was a. Yeah, I get them, but I don't know more.
You don't get no butterflies?
No.
I still do.
I don't.
Until I break over that bank, and man, I get on that turn and we get ready rolling down the backstretch, they go away. But it's time to go to work then.
I lost that a long time ago. I don't know. I guess just over the years you get comfortable. You know what you got to do, and you know where you're at and what you're going to do, and that's it. Now, can I say I might not get that way if I went to another track? I might.
That's somewhere you ain't sit on for a while or something.
Right.
But
I can't say I would, though, to be honest.
Well, you're talking about wiping gauges. You know, I mean, that's definitely important because, I mean, how many times, you know, those – and a lot of people don't know. You know, you think you just get out and drive a race car, and, you know, we put those gauges in there for a reason.
Right.
And I've seen many a guy make that mistake and lose a motor.
Right.
Or just not pay attention, or pay attention and don't care. You know, I've seen that too.
Right.
But, you know, they're there for a reason, and that's part of driving.
Right.
And, you know, that's part of a driver's ability to be able to look, you know, not only out the front windshield, and for you, all the damn windows of the car we were just talking a few minutes ago.
Right.
But you know, but you got to pay attention to your gauges. You got to pay attention to what your motor's doing.
That's right.
And
sounds and everything else. I mean, it makes a big difference. You know, it was like I pulled in last Friday after racing. I told him, I said, listen to this. I said, this car's making a different noise. He's like, just put it in the trailer. We'll be all right. Well, come to find out, you know, we unloaded it Tuesday, I think it was. I think it was Tuesday. I went over, we unloaded it, put it in the shop. And Colton was underneath it. He's like, left side manifold's left side exhaust pipe was about to fall off. I said, well, there's a noise I heard.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard it out there on the track. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's just things that you sense over years of racing. It's not just like getting in there and turn the wheel and
just
holding the gas.
Yeah, it's not. And a lot of people, you're right, and that's something that your car will tell you a lot.
Oh yeah.
And it tells you every single lap. And when you notice something different, it's something to pay attention to. I mean, these guys, you think about the NASCAR drivers. Oh, I picked up a vibration.
Right.
And they're probably just like, oh, it's just a little bit. We feel a vibration in our car. Well, we just run over a little pebble or something.
Right.
But these guys are feeling a vibration at 200 miles an hour.
Right.
It's a little different, and then they feel the way the gear shift feels in their hand. I mean, if they feel a little vibrate, that's all stuff that can tell you things.
Right.
It's any level.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's a big thing to learn, to know what your car will do, and to learn what your car will do.
It's got limits.
It's not. The first time I took the new XXV out, I didn't drive off into the corner thinking, oh yeah, that thing's gonna stick, because I had no clue. I mean, it was a brand new car from front to rear. Couple laps, I knew what I could do and what I had to do. But that's years of experience. Somebody else getting in that car, if I was to put my son in it, there's no way he could do what I'm doing. I mean, he's got driving abilities, but he don't know that style of car, Mm-hmm. And Chris Bunch even said this, and I trying to throw him out there, but he told me, he said it's a different breed getting in a bomber car with an open rear end than what it was running his cruiser car. Mm-hmm. He said this is something that I've definitely got to learn. I mean, it's a different thing. Bo Mitchell told me back in the day, he drove one of my cars. He said, I don't know how you drive that car. I was like, I do pretty good. I've won quite a few races this year. I was like, he's like, man, I just don't know how you do it. He said, that's a weird feeling in that car. And it is. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
But it is. And you think about, where Chris Bunch, I mean, several time pure stock champion in the old pure stock class. And we talk about back in the day with that too. But that's a good class that's gone by the wayside. But, how many years has it been since he's been on stock suspension with open rear end with a car that is pretty much full weight of what a car would be.
Right. I don't know that. I don't know how long it's been since he's been in.
No, but
car.
You know what I'm saying.
Right.
We're just hypothetically.
Right.
How long has it been? And then you come to that and you're like, yeah, it's fun, but man, it's way different.
Right. Well, it's just like the scrapper division. Chris Bunch got there and he's like, man, I don't even care about my cruiser car anymore. I mean, that's honestly what he told all of us last year. He said, I had more fun in that scrapper car than what I ever thought of having in that cruiser car. Cruiser car's a lot of work, and if you ain't having fun, you ain't going to do anything. No. I mean, that's all there is to it. If you can't have some fun and get some satisfaction out of it, other than just busting your rear every day and going out there and busting your rear again and not getting nothing out, it's no fun. No. And that's what happens to a lot of people. But, going forward or backwards in racing, whichever way you go, it's usually harder if you go forward and then try to back up and do that. There's a few people, Bill Moore can get in just about anything there is to drive. Chris Bunch is the top of his game, I mean, he can jump right in that car and drive it. He's having a few mechanical problems right now, but just like I told him, I was like, look, Melvin even said it, I'm probably a top 5 car if those guys ever get on their game. Those cars just have to have the bugs worked out, but that's the reason we brought 5 cars.
Yeah.
We want to be out there racing side by side and putting on a show.
Oh, yeah.
That's our thing. Regardless if we're the most experienced drivers in the world or the most inexperienced drivers in the world, I want to go out there and put on a show, and I want to have a good time at it. I don't want to be out front. I don't want to be 12 car lengths ahead of the guy that's behind me. I want to be out there having a good time with it, racing, swapping paint. I ain't scared to bend up a car, but
within reason.
Right. We all just got to have that. We all got to get together,
Oh, yeah. Well, you were touching on some of the stuff and talking about the work and different things that you're supposed to do. Well, not that you're supposed to, that you have to do.
You have to do.
We think about we're trying to get new people into the sport, and we're trying to grow the sport again. Mm-hmm. Where it was huge at one time. Now we're coming back. It's coming back. I feel that.
I hope.
But it's, you got to think about bringing those people to the track, or kids, or just think about your own kids and different things,
right.
That they see. But advice, what advice, and you think about your career and how you started and different things. But what advice would you give somebody that we just, we can bring a new guy, he wants to build a car, or he wants to get into racing some way. What kind of advice would you give those people?
Work ethic.
True.
Be very, very, very proficient in what you do on your car. I mean, don't ever neglect to take thought that I drove my car on the trailer, it's good. Because it's never good. Mm-hmm. Just because you put it on a trailer, there's no sign it's right. It's ready. Building a car, if you can afford to do it, build it all brand new.
Yeah. Every
nut and bolt. I was blessed with Melvin. I mean, everything on my car, this J4 car, bunches of cars, all brand new. Not that Melvin did it all. I mean, we've all had our hands in all these cars, but a brand new car makes a big difference. Just because you drove your scrapper car out there, or your street stock, or cruiser car, whatever it is, just because you put it on your trailer is no sign that car is ready for next week. Wash it. First day after you get done racing. I mean, racing 7 days a week. I don't care how you look at it. Not that you're at a track, but racing is 7 days a week if you want to run up front. Had to learn that the hard way. Everybody usually has to learn it the hard way. But if you want to be up front, cheating or non-cheating, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, you shouldn't cheat.
Right. But to be able to be up front, you've got to have your car at the top of its game. And that's going over every nut and bolt, every last piece of that car, no matter how you look at it.
Well, and that's what, whenever I was texting with you the other day, we got to talking about, and I've said this on several shows, whenever I was way back when, and we were talking about, I was getting a car, or going to get a car, or whatever. You always told me, man, race car don't end on Sunday. It begins on Sunday.
That's right.
And that work day begins when you pull off that track after that feature. It's time to start working on your car.
That's exactly right.
And
it's a lot of work. I don't know if our younger generation, I mean, I got a son that's young. I mean, and I want him to be in racing, but, you got to work for what you got.
Yeah.
And racing is a lot of work. I mean, just because you go out and put 40 hours a week in a job, you're going to put that much inside the garage if you want to be up front and do what you got to do.
Right.
So just to tell all the young people out there, work hard. Work hard and make sure you go over every piece of your car. I don't care if you even think of second guessing it. You check it all. Yeah. I mean, just like the other day we all got in there. Colton was underneath the car. Me and Mel was on top. Just check. I mean, we went over every bolt on the car. Most people wouldn't even think about doing some of that stuff. No. But we went over every bolt. Was there loose bolts? Yes. You're running on a dirt track. I mean, come on. Those tracks are violent to a car.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just think about it. Take your regular everyday car and go out there and drive around the track. You're going to have some stuff coming off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you built that car, stuff's going to fall off of it. Mm-hmm. So just, get out there. Learn from the older people. Listen. Because not just me, anybody, watch what's going on around that track. That's one of the things I've tried to instill in my son so much. Just because you're out there racing, whenever he's at a go-kart track, I said, go up there and sit in them stands and watch those guys. Watch what groove that they're in on that track. Watch how they're going in and coming off the track. You can learn so much from watching those other guys, regardless if they're running up front or not.
Oh, yeah.
You can learn a ton from that. And that's what the people that are entering the sport need to learn that. If you're out there racing, your car don't seem right, don't keep racing it.
No.
Pull it off. Because all you're doing is just wasting your time, you're hurting your car. Just pull it off. I mean, it ain't worth it.
Well, one little takeaway from that, and you talk about, you don't have to just watch the guy that's leading. Watch the guy that's in second, watch the guy that's in third, watch the guy that's in 25th. It doesn't matter. You can figure out, and, well, it helps if you've driven before, but because anybody can drive in cars from the grandstands. Don't you know that?
Oh, yeah, there's a ton of those people out there, grandstand drivers.
That car easy.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why he did this. My God, if I was out there, I'd be doing it. Well, why ain't you out there?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, why aren't you out there? Well, I'll tell you why you're out there. Number one, because you're talking about it, and that's it.
That's it.
I'm not out there talking about it. We're out there doing it.
That's right.
So.
Well, but, what I was going to say was, whenever you look at the guys, you just split the field in half. You look at the guys that are running up front, there's a reason why they're running up front. You look at the guys that are running in the back, there's a reason why they're running in the back.
Right.
And now, that could be a myriad of reasons. Now, that could be money. That could be, time. It could be preparation. It could be any of that. It could be lack of driving ability. It's all kinds. It's not everybody's the same plane. But you're right. But there's a reason why this guy's running 13th versus the guy that's running third and right on the leaders. Right. I mean, there's it's both ways.
Right. Either you're in the wrong class, or you're outclassed, or you're just. I mean, it went from I drove the old XXV, and that car was wore out. I mean, if Mel was sitting there, he'd tell you that car was wore out. I mean, I'd had that thing on a frame rack no time. How many times? I'd put it in the wall a couple of times myself. It had been put in the wall by Trevor and other people that had drove that car. That car was wore out. Could I run up front? Yeah. But whenever I got out the new car, it was like daylight and dark. Whenever you go into building a new car and you got all new components, everything's working then. Mm-hmm. That's a key success, I mean, that's just one thing. Building a brand new car or building whatever you got and putting new parts on it makes a car work.
And it's not, and we talk about it's some upfront cost,
right,
but it'll save you in the long run.
It saves you in the long run. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can go out to the junkyard and get your tie rod end off, but you got to think about how many miles that tie rod end's got on it. It didn't go through the punishment that tie rod's going to go through if you're on dirt.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Yeah, hitting a pothole every other day or every 2 weeks or whatever is different than hitting a pothole 25 times in one race.
No, you don't even hit it 25 times in one race. You're talking about 500 times. There ain't a dirt track out there that's silk.
That's right.
There's none of them that's just super smooth. I mean, it's not in the right. And dirt track driving, asphalt's one thing. Asphalt's a good setup. You got to be smooth. And that's something about the younger people. Don't put yourself in one realm. Don't put yourself just at Windy Hollow or just at Kentucky Motor Speedway. Venture out. Because Ricky Rudd told me this. He said if you ever go out to another track and you raced at Windy Hollow, those other tracks will be 3 times easier to drive than what Windy Hollow is.
It's tough.
Windy Hollow is the hardest track around to master it.
Always
and once you master it, you've got it. And every other track I've ever went to has been gravy.
Well, I've been chasing it for years, man. So I'm not there yet. Of course, I don't get to run on it as much as I used to. But, but you're right. Windy Hollow, we think about and the 3 tracks that we would call local, I guess, would be, Western Kentucky Speedway, Cedar Ridge Speedway, and, Windy Hollow Speedway. And it's just different. And Windy Hollow has always been a different dirt track. Hell, Randy Westfield will tell you that.
Right.
It's always been tough.
It has.
Since it's opened. And it's super fast. You got to drive it. You got to be up on a wheel.
Right.
And you got to have good equipment.
Got to have good equipment. There's no doubt about that. Equipment is key to all success in racing. I mean, regardless if you got the money or not, build the best that you can.
Right.
The driving ability comes with time, I guess, on some people. Some people are either a driver and some people ain't. It is what it is. No matter if you got the love for it, there's people out there. I can't think of his name. The 95 car. What's his name?
Tracy Hack?
No. The older gentleman. Calhoun. Raced at Nebo all the time.
Oh, Tony Mosey? Back in the day? And
the other guy. The old guy that races out there right now in Rusty Bowl. I can't think of his name for nothing now. But anyways.
He's going to hear this.
He just goes out there and makes laps.
Oh, Philip Vanover.
Philip Vanover, there you go. He just goes out there and makes laps.
How could I not remember Phil?
Yeah. I mean, he goes out there and makes laps. It's not because he's out there to race and be fast. He just goes out there and makes laps because he likes it.
You know what the crazy thing about Philip is, though? And he'll tell you, he's like, hey, them guys can lap me 15 times. He said, but at the end of the night, I end up finishing 5th or 6th. He said, I get some money. I get my money. I had fun. He said, so what's it matter?
Right.
Philip's been a friend of the sport for a long time.
Right.
And we talk about Tony Mosey, and definitely what all Tony did, he helped, in a bunch of that, and with, his son, Hunter.
Right. I raced a bunch of races with Tony.
I did too.
I mean, a bunch.
I felt racing with Tony a couple of times.
I've swapped a lot of paint with that man. I've had some good times with him.
Yeah. Well, and that's another guy. We talk about being gone, and me and Tony had a run in, but we before he passed away, we made up, and harbored feelings for a long time, but we made up, and you know what, I'm so glad I did it.
Right, but everybody has run-ins. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
It's just like we was talking a while ago. When I put that helmet on, there are no friends.
No.
I mean, it is what it is. We can talk after the race or whatever, but I'm going out there to do one thing, and that's to get to the front and to win that race. But to say that I'm not gonna push you, I'm not gonna pressure you any, I'm not gonna bump you, I'm not gonna touch your car, I'm not gonna tell you that, because I'm gonna do what it takes to get to the race, to get to the win. Mm-hmm. No matter what it is, if it's my wife, my kid, my mom, whoever it is, once I put that helmet on, it's game over for me.
And that's not, well, that, you know, a lot of people might misconcept that.
Right.
Or misconstrue that. It's not being a turd. It's really not. That's what a driver's supposed to do. You can see that from
NASCAR
to NASCAR.
Right. I mean, NASCAR, they got a team of drivers that are all in the same team, but you think that they're going to let up off their best buddy over here that they race against? No,
they're going to wear a bumper out.
They're going to wear it out, do whatever they got to do to get around them to get the win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all for one.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do, too.
That's it.
I mean, that's the point of driving.
That's right.
The point is to win, but the point is also to have fun.
And to put on a good show for the fans. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The fans are there to see a good show. Yeah. So,
well, I want to move into something real quick. We talk about, you know, and I know you've been around racing for a long time, as have I. And, you know, especially, you know, we've been around it together.
All right.
At different points. But you ever have any good stories from the track, just stuff that, you know, back when you and the Robinsons were around, or you and Barry Snyder, or, you know, you and Kink and some of those guys, and just fun stuff that happened, or just craziness?
Well, I mean, oh yeah, we've had a lot of craziness. There ain't no doubt about it. We've had a lot of things that go on in life. I guess one night, you know, me and Barry, we built a brand new car together. Went down to Nebo and raced. Paul Lehman was down there. Teddy Revlett.
Yep.
I was running in pure stock with my cruiser car. Barry was running in cruiser. Went down there, and Michael Driscoll, he was running third to me that night. You know, I went out to run my heat. Teddy Revlett come back, and he said, "You're wearing out my back bumper. You shouldn't have been doing that." It's like, whatever, dude. I'm just driving. It is what it is. I mean,
you know,
there was probably some words exchanged there. You know, I told Barry, I said, do what you got to do with Paul Lehman. Have a good race. They did. They had a great race. I went out there, finished second to Teddy Revlett. Well, you know, I got tore down that night. Kind of knew it was going to come up. Tim Copel even told me, he said, man, it's a claim rule down there for a motor.
Right.
We're talking about a brand new car I built for a year. Me and Barry did. He come back here, he said, I'm claiming you. Barry was like, all right, we're taking it. But you got to take the other cars. You know, Paul Lehman, he got disqualified. As soon as they raised his hood, he got disqualified. He threw the trophy at us. It's like, dude, why are you mad at me? It wasn't me. Yeah. You know, it's you. So, you know, we tore our motor down. He ended up not claiming us. He tore our motor down. Well, you know, everybody went home mad that night. Races like that, you know, I went to, just for instance, I went to Salem. First time ever being at Salem. You know, I went down there. It was hot. Very hot. Me and Dwayne split a car that day. We started out 86. We ended up 15th that night. But, you know, I got out of that car because my feet were on fire. And people think that's funny, but I'm telling you, I don't know if you've ever had a header day, ever burned the bottom of your foot.
Absolutely.
We're talking about racing shoe melted off. Mm-hmm. I got out of the car and run straight over to a cooler and stuck my feet in that cooler. Things like that. I mean, you'll never get that out of your head, you know. I've had some run-ins with people, you know. Jason, not what Jason Caps. It was his car. But who was driving? Neil.
Oh, Birdie?
Birdie Neal. Come out there. We had a little bit of rival between me and Jason, you know, see who was going to win every week. I'll never forget it. You know, Bill Mormon was driving Mark Stallings' car. It was Bill Mormon, Birdie Neal, me.
Is that the old John Deere car?
No, it was a yellow and purple car, I think. Well, you know, every time we took off, Birdie would spin him out, which they had a real bad rival.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, real bad. And I pull up there at Johnstown. I'll never forget it. Pull up there at Johnstown. I was like, look, what's up with that? 3 starts, he spins him out every time. He's like, look, I can't do nothing about it. So I'll take care of it. We took off. I shot old Birdie Neal right off the end of the track, 1 and 2. Went over. I mean, he went sky. Hit ground. 4 tires blew out. We went around, raced our race, had a great time. Come back, you know, Birdie Neal walked back here to me. He said, man, I don't know what I did to you, but I'll never do it ever again. I said, it wasn't me that you did it to. It was the bill, you know. I was like, why? He was like, maybe I was just driving out of my head. He said, but anytime that you get around me, I'll pull over out of the track.
Man, I don't want you to pull over.
I was like, dude, I don't want you doing that. But he did it. You know, I mean, but that's just some of the things.
Birdie was.
I think he was in a kind of a bad situation at that time, you know.
Yeah.
But it was all good. I mean, we had good time. I mean, we've all had good and bad times.
He did have some bad situations, but by God, he won a lot of races.
He did.
He
did.
He did win a lot of races.
He did. He was a good driver. Wasn't no doubt about it. Jason was too. There's a lot of good drivers out there, man, that a lot of people don't know about, you know. Kink. A lot of people don't even know that guy. If you're in the racing community, you do. You know him. But, I mean, that guy right there was a phenomenal driver.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, he could flat get around the track, especially figure out he was more asphalt prone. But, you know, that guy taught me a lot, and there's a lot of stories behind what that guy mean. I mean, no doubt about it.
I don't know now. Now, when you talk about Kink, you got to be careful because there's some stories that
Right.
No, I'm playing.
Right.
Steve's all right. I like talking.
He's a good dude. Yeah. He is a real good dude. But yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stories out there. It's kind of better if the other people are there that kind of back you up whenever you're doing all that. But
well, maybe that's something we can do. You know, we can talk to during the break about that, and about how we're getting some more equipment, and maybe that's something we can do. We can set a bunch of guys down with,
right?
You know, the old Kink crew. If we could get Dwayne and you and Jeff Macy and different people,
Barry Snyder,
and have a group discussion. I'm sure that something good would come out of that.
Oh,
Something bad might come out. You never know.
You never can tell. There might be some tempers to flare up or whatever, but I think we've all gotten over that now.
Yeah.
You know, we got a little bit older, and you kind of let that kind of stuff roll off of you anymore.
We got a lot older, man. What are you talking about?
Well, I know. Believe me, I know.
Well, speaking of break, we're going to take another one real quick
and
shoot it to some commercials because just like race cars, we got to pay the bills.
I got you.
All right. We'll be right back.
You know Fairview IT Management is your one-stop shop for your home computing needs. But did you know they are also one of Owensboro's leading business automation services, offering network automation, system administration, and remote managed support? Fairview IT Management can become your help desk to help you reduce staffing costs and keep your bottom line low. Give Gabriel Kirtley a call at 270-228-4339 for all your business technology needs.
All right, buddy, man, we're back, and we're going to throw the white flag out now. But it's an important lap, so we got four corners, and we're going to make it count. So, what I want to get into, Shane, is something that I ask everybody, and I know it sounds a little bit like a broken record when I say that, but I want their take on it. And this is somebody who knows, like me, was back in the day, quote unquote, and knows what racing was then. In the night, we're talking mid to late 90s, early 2000s, and now what we're doing now. But I want you to think about local racing. And I know you mainly run Windy Hollow, but you've been to other tracks. And, we're talking about different tracks you want to go to. But what do you think the state of racing is? Is it strong? Is it struggling? Where are we at?
Well, I've said this before. Social media has hurt racing.
Yeah.
I think racing now has dissolved. Do I think it can come back? I think, but back in the day, whenever Rooster had the track, or God, I can't think of his name. It had Whitesville, Barney Lane. Those people had them tracks for years and years. They stuck with a set of rules. They kept the track the way it was. Those people had a bunch of cars. Mm-hmm. Now that you've got track owners that are changing every year, every other year, and I'm not singling nobody out, but you just look at the tracks now. Western Kentucky Speedway, Mack Henry, Chandler.
Gone.
I mean, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Well, why are they all gone? Because there's always a lease. There's all that overhead that the small guy can't always take care of. Right. Jimmy Westerfield and them, they took on trying doing Windy Hollow.
They're doing a hell of a job. They really are for what they're being able to do.
Right, and that goes for Brad Payne out of Kentucky Motor Speedway. I mean, he's doing what he can do, but racing is just not as strong. I think the racers are out there. I think the cars are out there. I mean, look, we packed 10 cars to the track, so I mean, it's there, but I just don't see it as strong as what it used to be. And I don't know that it'll ever get as strong as what what it used to be, because NASCAR's even dissolving. It's getting smaller as it goes on.
Absolutely.
Because I can't say it's the economy, because if the economy was bad, we wouldn't be out there racing. Right. We couldn't do what we're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has been a factor in gas $4 a gallon and steel through the roof and things, but
it has. But with anything, I mean, so does food go up. Do you stop eating?
No, you eat.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like cigarettes. Cigarettes go up, but you ain't stopped smoking, have you?
Well, I don't.
Well, I know.
No, I get what you're saying.
But I mean, everything goes up. Yeah. I mean, it's just the way the world is. We're all going up. We're not going back down.
No, we are good.
I mean, I don't know that racing will ever be what it was before, because I just don't think it's there anymore. I just don't think the work ethic is there. There's the biggest thing. I don't think people want to put in the time. As people like me, you, Melvin, Donnie, I mean, we all put in time because we have a passion for it. Mm-hmm. For somebody to be able to get that passion, they look at it and they're like, man, this is a lot of work. I don't want to do this anymore. So there's where it kind of falls off. You see a bunch of cars at the first night of racing, and then it kind of falls off and diminishes, Do I see it getting any better? Probably not. That's just me as a racer.
Yeah.
Do I hope it gets better? Oh, yeah. I'd love to see 200 cars at a track any given night. I would love to be able to stay at a track till 3 o'clock in the morning, because we got 200 cars out there and we're racing against.
Instead of staying at the track at 3 o'clock in the morning, we got 50 cars.
Right. That's where I'm at, and that's a lot of why we don't travel to race. I mean, you go to a track and if we're packing 5 cars and we're the only 5 there, that ain't fun. That's not cool. No. I mean, we're racing ourselves, and we want to do that. That's the reason. But we want to do it with other people. Last year we went to Chandler, Nebo. Every time that Nebo invited us down, we come down there and raced. I mean, we love to give back. I promise you this: if Melvin could do it and race 7 days a week, he'd race 7 days a week.
I guarantee you.
There's no doubt about it. Anywhere there's a track open, just like this week, we was going to run Friday night. We was going to go to KMS Sunday. We'd be there to support the track and put on a show. Not everybody does that. If you go to Whitesville, you don't see dirt track people. If you go to dirt track, you don't see Whitesville people. You might see a few, but you don't see a lot of them.
Yeah, there's always a divide, but that doesn't, it doesn't have to be that way. And race, to me, racing's racing.
Right.
And Melvin's wife, and she did put on her, and she made a good point, and it was on social media. She goes, it's a damn shame that we went to racing 2 nights this week, Friday and Sunday, and 50 cars or less at the track. But she's like, I'm here to support it anyway. Right.
And that's what we're out there for. It's kind of like me. I wouldn't even be supporting racing right now if it wasn't because of my wife. Where my son stepped out and said he was done with go-kart racing, he looked at me and said, I want to see you back in a car. He said, let's build a car. It was kind of a great thing because, Melvin had come to me and talked to me about building a car and put me in one. I talked to her, she was like, sure. The first time she ever saw me ever drive a car was I drove for Jake Sham. She kept her eyes covered. She wasn't into all that, She literally sat in the stands and buried her head. She was like, that wall and you just didn't work out too good. I was like, it is what it is. Look.
Think I'm scared of that wall?
No. I asked her, look, what do you think about me getting back into racing? She was like, sure, let's do it. And back when I was first building the XXV, I was kind of done. I got burnt out really quick. Me and my son was putting in late hours at Greg's, putting this car together, doing the body work. I told Mel one day, I was like, man, I'm just done. Here, you can have the car back. He was like, look, what happened?
You don't remember how it used to be.
There's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time to be able to do that kind of stuff. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of people in racing. A lot of people don't have time for racing.
Yeah.
It takes a big income to do racing. It takes a lot of time in the garage to be able to do it. And most people are working 1 and 2 jobs, and when they get done with their job, they're tired. They want to go home and get their rest or spend time with their families. I'm grateful that I have a car owner that allows me that I don't have to be there with the car all the time. Mm-hmm. I have a wife that's very 100% supportive in racing. I have a son that's there with me all the time. We bring our kids with us. It's a family event, Yeah. We go out there to support, and if there's a fundraiser or whatever, we try to do what we can. I support tracks as much as I possibly can. Even in Greg's business, I try to sponsor some of the tracks and give out what I can when I can, Right. it's just I don't see racing ever getting any bigger than what it was back in the day.
Right.
You know.
So we're saying we could get close to where we were, but we're not going to surpass it with what.
I don't know
how the world is these days.
Right. I don't think that you ever get back to having 100 cars a night.
I mean, I obviously we want to.
We want to,
and we've shown. And see, that's the thing. And this is why I think this is why I've taken my stance back. When I started out early in the year, now we started recording, back in January,
right,
or February, whenever. And we got to talking about it. I was like, man, I think racing's struggling. Based on what we saw last year.
Right.
I think,
and it was.
We're seeing us turning a little bit of a corner this year, and we have seen that the cars will come. But again, there's a lot of factors.
Well, I mean, you got the tracks, of course. You got the track owners. You got officials. You got rules. A lot of people don't want to follow rules. I mean, I'm not even going to go into all that, but there's a lot of people that don't like rules, and if they don't get the rules the way they want, they go somewhere else, or they just don't race. There's just a lot of factors in it. I'll support any track. If I could race 3 nights a week, I'd race 3 nights a week. I did it back in the day.
I've seen you do it.
I love racing. Melvin and them, Regina, Bill, all of them love racing. They have a passion like no other for racing, and they would do the same thing. But then again, you've got your tracks that obviously we couldn't go down Nebo every week and race because they didn't like us coming down there racing. It's that home cooking thing. I shouldn't say home cooking. It's just the fact that you're an outsider going in. What I'm saying? It's kind of like them come down here. If they don't get the best of the world, they think it's just because they don't race down here every week. Yeah. And it's not true. I mean, I went down there and had a great success. I won a bunch of races at Nebo. But those guys look at me like, you're coming down here taking my bread and butter. I'm not down there doing that. I'm down there to race. Have fun.
Well, that's the truth, though. But you got to look at it like this. If that's your bread and butter, maybe you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But a lot of people do it for the money.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people do it for the money, and whenever they go to the track, they expect to get something back. Like at Windy Hall this year, even if I won every race out there, I could never get back even a third of what I put in. If I won every race this year, because we're limited to a schedule now. Our tracks don't even race every weekend. Well, we're 11 races. We're 11 races. What do we put in? 2?
Yeah. But think about it though. If you, from that standpoint, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Where you got you can race 27 times, 27 nights this year, and while we would love to do that. And this track's only going to run 17 nights. Does it? You got to think about the formula, I guess, from that standpoint. Just I don't know what your opinion is on it, and that's what I want to know. But because track owners, they're trying to. Here's the thing: they're trying to do what they think is best for the sport and what they think is best for the track. So if one's got a formula to run every night, there is fine. If one's got a formula to run a limited schedule, like Tri-State Speedway, I mean, we see what Tommy Hilfiger and those guys can do. So what's your opinion on it? Is it does it help, hurt? Is it break even? What?
I think it hurts. I like the thing if you run every other weekend or something like that, but we're 11 races. You got to take into consideration that you got bad weather.
Yep.
So we're not really making up any races. It's not like anymore. We don't race for anything anymore. Just cut straight to the chase. We don't race for nothing anymore. Used to, you race for a championship.
Yeah.
You got a points fund at the end of the year. You got a pretty good chunk of change. You got a trophy, jackets, yada, 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 big banquet.
Hell, they gave away race cars one year.
Right.
Courtesy.
Scott Slayton. I mean, you got to give the man credit. I mean, he give a lot to the racing community and supported it 100%. Can't say a bad thing about him. But nowadays, they don't even think about that. I don't know if I should say this, but I think a lot of your racetrack owners think about what they're putting in their pocket. It is what it is. Somebody might get a little bit upset about it, but if you're out there to race, let's race every day that you possibly can. If you got to rain out this day, let's make it up tomorrow. Or let's say, hey, we're going to put it on the backside. How many races have we missed already this year? How many races have you missed? If you was able to race every day,
yeah,
every week,
yeah.
every weekend at your hometown track, Cedar Ridge,
yeah.
They've had a couple rainouts. They making it up?
Yeah. agree.
I mean, that's just where I look at it.
Well, I guess it's a new way for me to look at it too. And again, nothing against anybody.
No, it's nothing against any of the tracks. It's just
you gotta run it like a business too.
You got to run it like a business. I understand their standpoint, but you got to think about these guys out here that's building these cars and spending this money. They want to race. They want to race for something. Mm-hmm. And if there is nothing, there ain't no sense in racing. I mean, that's just plain just, used to, it was a big goal of mine to get that championship at the end of the year. Get that jacket or whatever it was. I mean, I know I got a jacket, 6-foot trophy, and the banquet and the recognition and everything else out of that. You don't have that anymore.
Yep.
So if you're not getting nothing back, that's why a lot of people don't put back in. Maybe some people will get a little bit upset about that, but that's just that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah. That's the thing. You're definitely entitled to because here's the thing. It's a new take. It's something we haven't heard, and you're right. I don't think there's as much emphasis on a championship anymore.
No, and I'm not really a big points guy anymore. I could care less about running for points because points don't mean nothing to me anymore. But it's the guy, it's the lower guy. Let me say that. It's the guy who doesn't win every week. But he's there every week. He's racing for a goal. His goal is to win or to get something at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But if they don't get nothing, why come back?
But it looks good. I mean, it does look good to sponsors. And when you can say, hey, man, I've consistently been a top 5-point car, blah, blah, blah. But
right.
Yeah, you're right.
But if you run 11 races out of a full season from whenever you used to running, what did we run back in the day? 20-some races, 25-some odd races. That was at one track. Think about it if you was running that 3 times a weekend.
Yeah.
You don't have it anymore. So those guys right there aren't racing for nothing. They're racing for giggles.
Yeah. No. That's it. That's the thing, though. It is a true thing, and that I didn't really think about that. I never really went championship. Well, I guess back when I was in mini stock, and you remember those days, mm-hmm. and you guys helped on that car, and how we were talking about, you got to show up, you got to you got to run the heat, you got to run the feature, you got to get those points,
right?
And you might not win,
but you're there.
You can stay in the hunt. You know what I mean? And don't pressure the wins. If you do that, we all know that you're going to lose more times than you're not.
Right.
But you're right though. These guys, I don't know. I don't know if it's a want to or they just don't have the opportunity. Is it both?
It could be, but I'm telling you, if tracks would ever get together, quote unquote, get together where you could go race both tracks and not have any problems. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you ever get that in the racing community.
We hope so.
Like used to, I could go to Chandler, I could go to Nebo, McHenry, Cedar Ridge, and run my car both places.
Same thing. You
can't do that now. Your cruiser car ain't legal for one track versus the other.
Right, it's not.
So it limits you to where you can go. I understand the track owners doing what they do to keep you at their track, but then again, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot too. I don't know. I look at it from a racer standpoint. I would love to race every weekend. I like to be off every now and then. Having a break, I know KMS used to race all season long. About midway through the season, they take a 2-week break.
Yeah, Nebo did that. They'd always take off for a couple of weeks. That
right.
way they could redo the track and do the things.
I think Wendy Hall used to do that back in the day, and I think that was a good thing. But this 11 race season, I don't know how a track can make it, and I don't know how the racer can make it. Especially spending the money that we spend nowadays.
And we do. And again,
it's nothing against any of the tracks. It's just I'm just cutting it straight to how it is.
They spend a lot of money too, and that's the thing. We got to think about, on both sides of the coin. And Jimmy talked about a lot of it and how much different he thinks about it now versus when he was a driver and just showing up at the racetrack versus what he does now. And he's got to think about it from that standpoint,
right?
And all this stuff. So, but going back real quick to what you were saying. And you were talking about, when we had tracks that had owners, full-on owners, and that they ran, they had a track for 20 years.
Right.
I think that that's one thing you see because me and Jimmy had that conversation, prior to or right at their first year, and talking about, you're not going to dump $100,000 into something. It's like
somebody else's track.
Right. You go lease this car. You're not going to put rims and tires and motor upgrades and doing all this stuff. And in 5 years or 3 years, send it back.
Right.
And just give it to somebody. You give it back to them. You're not going to do that.
And I understand that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But if you want to be the best,
they are doing it. They are.
But if you want to be the best, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I know.
No,
I agree.
If I'm leasing a car and I want my car to look good, I'm gonna spend the money on it, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just gotta look at it like that. Hopefully, you make all your money back to be able to pay for what you put in it, and there you are.
Well, that's the goal, And at the end of the day, it is the goal. It's the goal of the racers to make some money back, and it's the goal of the track owner to make some money back.
Right.
So we've all got the same goal. But I mean, is there anything that we're doing that you personally like? Like that? Like no, I'm talking about, track wise. Are we on the right track with some of these things? Now this could be anywhere,
I mean, that's a hard question to answer for me.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, but you're a guy that's there regardless.
Right, I'm there regardless.
So it doesn't matter, that way to you. But stuff that you like, I really enjoy that they do that. I like that.
Right, I do like I like the fact of the talk shows. This podcast. It gets here's the thing that kind of hurts in racing. Like this limited schedule. You go out and get a sponsor. A sponsor expects you to be there every week.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I agree.
So they invest the money into you. You're investing your money into the track, basically, to be able to put their name out there. Right. I think the tracks are doing some of what they can. I'm not singling nobody out because I'll race anywhere. If I can go get an opportunity to go to Clarksville, I'll go there. I've not been there, but I think tracks are going somewhat in the right direction. And there are good points about trying to get the track better. They are giving away to the kids and helping the kids out there, getting the kids involved in racing. I know Cedar Ridge is real big into that. I think it's a teenager race I watched last year. Mm-hmm. You got your scrapper division. It's kind of fell off a lot this year that I've noticed, even at Windy Hall and at KMS. It's nothing like what it was last year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Those kind of things right there, I mean, I see it's trying to grow and people are wanting it to get bigger, but I don't know. There's something limiting it. There's something out there stopping it all. There's like a brick wall there for some reason. Don't know if it's track owners, if it's the track personnel, if it's just the track, or if it is us.
Yeah. Well, there's so many factors that go into it.
Right.
And when we talk about racers and fans and promoters and different things, I think one thing is, we're trying to run cars from 40 years ago, and they're leaving, they're gone.
They are.
And, we're crashing them and cutting them up and crushing them and everything, and they're leaving. But eventually that's going to run out. And we know that's one of those things. But then again, you got to turn an eye to the future, and we got to start thinking about, some of this stuff's renewable, and yeah, we're going to be racing cars from the 90s, in the cruiser class and things like that.
Right.
But you do have aftermarket companies that are building chassis and different things. But,
right.
I don't know, man. You're right. I think there is something that's staving off the growth, just or limiting. Just it's got a chokehold on it a little bit, and it's letting it through a little. And yeah, we're seeing some improvement, but I don't know what the factor is.
I mean, you used to look back, and we used to have a good modified show.
Oh yeah.
Where'd they go?
But you say that, and we go to you go to Tri-State Speedway on one of those nights, and they got 30 modifieds. So
why they go there?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Why they go there?
That's the question, man. I don't know. I don't want to answer it. Do you want to answer it?
Track preparation.
Hey, you race there every year.
Huh?
You race there every week.
I mean, track preparation. I mean, no doubt about it. Jimmy Westerville knows that.
Oh, he knows.
That first night out that we was out there, that track was horrible. He knows it. We know it. There's no way to fudge around and say, oh, yeah, he had a great track. He didn't have a great track.
No.
He had weather against him. He's trying to put new dirt on it. His modified show up. I mean, there were some cars tore up. I think that cut his throat. There's no doubt about it. Because, you go down there and you race on something like that. It puts a memory in there, and they're like, man, I don't know if I can go back down there for, I don't know what they even got paid. $2,000, whatever it was. You know, I don't know if the money's the factor. I've never thought money was a factor in racing when it comes to payouts and stuff like that, because most people, if they see big money, they go stem somewhere else. But that right there puts a thing in your mind that you just say, man, you know, last time I was there, that track was horrible. And those guys leave.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get those guys back unless they see that that track is back to the caliber of making Georgia Speedway, you know, or I'm not going to say Tri-State Speedway. I mean, those tracks are elite, you know. I mean, I'm not saying a Windy Hall's not elite, but those tracks have a surface that's always there.
Yeah, it's consistent.
It's consistent. But Windy Hall's never been consistent in all the years that I've been growing up. Windy Hall is Windy Hall. You just better get ready because it's got holes in it.
You expect the hole in turn one, you expect the hole in turn 3.
You got to expect it. I think that they're trying to get the track better.
They absolutely are.
100%. I'm not knocking him for anything he's doing, but, you know, whenever you got that and that happens to you and you've got 150 cars to show up at your track and they run on a rough track, they remember. It's just all there is to it. You said it a while ago whenever you said that you was at Nebo one night and there was holes this deep and your car was bouncing all the way through it. You remember that.
I do.
You remember it. I remember it. It was a rough track. They were doing what they could do, you know. But whenever you got that, there's where your car count goes. You know, your car count diminishes because those guys want to go race on smoother surfaces. Dirt is dirt. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you cut it. It can be in your front yard. It can be in your backyard. Those two surfaces are going to be different no matter what you're racing on it. Yeah. So I think that's just what's hurt a lot of racing, you know. I mean, you go anywhere else and you got big car counts.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about it, and they don't pay any more money.
They damn sure don't.
So, I mean, if you're traveling 6 hours away to race, you're still getting paid the same amount as what you would be to drive 30 minutes away.
Well, but, you know, I think that what we've got to take away from that too is yes, that was a bad deal.
Right.
And remember, and you know, we talk about.
And it's not just on the Westfields. It's happened to Scott Slayton. It's happened to Jack Vick. It's happened to Rooster. It's happened to Booker's, the Howards. It's happened to all of them. I mean, it is what it is. That's a famous word Scott Slayton said. It is what it is. But whenever that happens to you, that is what it is sticks.
It does, and I think that, you know, you can have 100 attaboys, and everybody's going to remember the one on
the one bad boy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you go out there and pay them all $10,000, all of them across the board, they'll remember that one bad thing and won't say nothing about that $10,000. There's a guarantee on that. I'm in customer service every day, so I know exactly how that works. And you can tell that customer just because their tire went flat after you changed it, and you give them $10,000, they won't talk about that $10,000 I give them.
No, they will talk about why their tire went flat.
Why their tire went flat.
Well, but
and I'm not here to say that about Jimmy, Randy,
no.
Brad Payne, Cedar Ridge, Nebo, Chandler, whatever it is. I'll race it in all of them, no matter what. It doesn't matter if the track got a 4-foot hole in it. We got to drive around it. That's the thing about a driver on dirt. They got to be diversified. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out how to get around that. It goes into late models and everything else, just like dirt in December. I went down there. Was that track good?
No.
No. That track was rough. I mean, but those guys diversified and went around it. Are they ready to go back again? Sure they are. Just like what we are back to Windy Hall.
Yeah. And but, you know, that's the thing. And we all have, you know, here's the thing, guys. You're right. It is what it is. I mean, everybody sees it. Everybody can see it. But I think that's what a lot of this show is, too, is we need to remind people. And you do that because you come back to the track and you support it. And y'all bring, you know, 25,000 cars that we've got. You've got all the cars that you own everywhere in the. But, you know, what I'm saying is you support the track. And that's important. And that's what we need to take away. And that's part of the point of this show is, hey, guys, so they had a bad week.
Right. And social media hurts it, you know, because you've got 100 people in the stands and all of them get on and say, well, this track wasn't worth a crap.
He broke a shock. And
he tore the rear end out of his car because this track was rough as a cop. Well, I mean, that's going across the world here, you know? And people see that. That's all they're going to remember because not too many people say, hey, he had a real good track tonight.
That's what I love people hearing in the interview, too, is when they get on there and say, we'd like to thank them, man, had a good track.
I mean,
track was racy.
The last race, I mean, he did have a good track compared to what the first night was. Yes, he had a real good track.
It's a head and shoulders. I mean, you know.
No doubt about it. Do they got more work to do? Of course they do.
Yeah.
I mean, just like what we got. We got more work to do on our race cars. It's the same scenario. But to say that this is what's killing it. This phone right here in my hand is what's killing racing.
Yeah.
Because you take all that out, you wouldn't have half the problems, and you'd probably have them stands packed. You know, people sit there and say, I'm sure Jimmy and them's car count was down last time because everybody thought it was raining. Did it sprinkle on us? Yeah, but everybody's out there saying, oh, it's raining out here. They didn't say it was sprinkling.
Yeah.
You know? It wasn't like it coming downpour.
Yeah. If
That's
you
what killed it.
If you just wait 10 minutes, you just seen all the Facebook
Yeah.
Live pictures with the videos.
Right.
But yeah, you're right, and that's one of those things where you think back to the way it used to be when we had flip phones and we could call people and it's about all we could do. We couldn't text or get on the internet.
Right.
But we could do that, and yeah, you'd bitch about a track or you'd bitch about a car or something like that, and it'd be a group of 2 or 3 guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe 10 people during the whole week you knew about it. But now you can push a button, and so say somebody's got 400 quote unquote friends. Well, that's 400 people that see it.
Yeah.
And
Then
those
those
400
other
people see it.
Right. It just spreads.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not like just me and you sitting here talking. I mean, you hit that button over there to send it, it's sending it.
No, it's sending it. Oh, it's
There's
sending
no
it.
doubt about it. It's sending it, and everybody gets to see it. And that's what I think. This is what's hurt racing. Yeah. No doubt about it. I think it helps racing too, but it also hurts them in the world's worst way.
From the informed standpoint and staying up on your tracks and your racers and things like that, I think that's great.
Right.
And that's what part of what we're trying to do is use social media for good, because at the end of the day, this is social media.
It is.
It's going to be on the internet, and we try to represent things on Facebook and sponsors
Right.
and things and tracks. But at the end of the day, you're going to have 500 people that's going to use it badly, and one guy.
Right.
Or 3 guys sitting here that use it for good.
That's one of the reasons I come out here to do this. I mean, this is a great thing. People need to hear it. No matter how you look at it, if you don't like the truth, you probably don't want to listen to people. And the people that don't like the truth don't listen to the right people. If you sit there and try to fudge the story all the way around and say, well, it was a great time of racing, you're probably sitting there lying. Because racing's not always great.
No, it's not.
Racing's not always great. There's not always good times at racing. There's bad and good. That's why I kind of like this. I mean, you're getting to tell your side of the story over all the years, I mean, when I was out there at Jack Vick, we had to race on a mud track. I mean, literally, you was racing in the mud. I mean, if you didn't have a good set of tires or any of the car, you're just going to sit there because that's what the track was. He wet it down to keep it slow, and it was mud. That's the way it was. You either liked it or you didn't. I liked it. I'd come back every week. I was dumb, A lot of people won't do that. And that's a good thing about this. I mean, nobody here is singling out any track or any person.
Yeah.
It's across the board.
It is, and it's the racing as a whole.
Racing as a whole, If you go to Dirt December, I mean, those guys right there are trying to do their best that they can to keep that track as best that they can. And we're talking about the elite of the elite drivers there. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about your backyard drivers. We're talking about A1A late models and modifieds.
Guys that do this for a living.
And they're driving around the same conditions.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
Well, you say that and talk about, coming on and we don't want anybody to not speak the truth.
Right.
And do that tactfully, and you've done it.
Right.
But, and we don't want to caution anybody about, being careful what you say.
Right.
Because, yeah, you can say your opinion, hey, man, it's just my opinion, but here's how I feel about it. I'm sorry. I'm going to be back here next week. This is the way this week was crap.
Right.
But next week, I'm coming back.
Hopefully it's better.
And I'm going to give you another chance.
Right.
And I'm going to give you a chance after that and after that. And that's what people need to do. You don't be so hasty. I was back when, at one point in my career, I was like, man, I ain't going back in that mess.
Right.
That's just a bunch of mess.
Right.
But then you got to think, be like, you know what? At least we got some mess.
Right. Because if Windy Hall wasn't here or Kentucky Motor Speedway wasn't here, where are you going to race at?
Nowhere.
Cedar Ridge?
You got to drive 15 hours away and race.
Cedar Ridge or Clarksville or Paducah or someplace like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who's got the time to do all that?
Oh, you're right.
And
it comes back to,
I would love to have all these tracks back open. There's no doubt about it because we'd be there every night. No doubt about it.
Well, I think a lot of people have echoed, of course, Central Park Raceway in McHenry.
Yeah.
I think, everybody wishes that track would come back.
Right. And it ain't going to.
No, it's not. And that's sad.
Right.
But and maybe Chandler we'll get back open again. We'll see what happens with that. There's a lot of controversy surrounding it, but but we hope that they do.
And if we had more tracks like that, yes, you could run that limited schedule because you're allowing that driver to go somewhere else to race to support another track.
Right.
But to run a limited schedule, really and truly, this ought to be the bang for the buck for all these racetracks around here because they got it all. They got it all in their hands.
Yeah.
Because there ain't no other tracks to compete with.
Yeah, well, within an hour or 2 hours away.
Right,
You know?
but there's not enough. I mean, Cedar Ridge and Windy Hall is competing against each other. That's it. Other
You're right.
than Kentucky Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and that's what we need to look at, and that's what we need to support, and maybe we can bring more guys to the game because there's still tracks around. You
yeah.
look at Nebo sitting dormant right now. Probably wouldn't take a whole lot. I mean, it would take some work, but it probably wouldn't take 5 years of work to try to get it back where it was. Now, where McHenry is so far down,
right?
You probably it would take a long time to get it back,
right?
Or Chandler. It probably is not going to take a ton of work to get it back.
I mean, they was racing it last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there. I was there every week that I could be out there to race. I mean, loved it.
And I've always wanted to go there, and it seems like, because guys, we're going to end up with a track go by we look at the elite facility that Kentucky Lake Motor Speedway was.
Right.
Look at that track. Gone.
Right.
And now I know some of that was politics and things.
Right.
And it happened, but
I mean, that's what's hurt Windy Hall too, So there was some politics there that they couldn't. They have to run a limited schedule, because of their. I suspect it's still on their bathroom situation, but it is, yeah.
Well, hopefully that's going to get corrected.
Right.
And I think it will.
I think they're going in the right direction. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Because the Westerfields aren't new to this.
No.
And maybe new to promoting, just so in that respect, but they're not new to racing.
They've always been promoting because they had to promote themselves.
Well, true.
They had a business. They had to promote their business.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we all promote ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we're promoters of our own. You promote your race car. You're promoting this right here. We're all promoters. Yeah. It's just in a different aspect. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you real quick. Put your fan hat on, and I know you're gonna you've always been driving, but you're a fan of racing, and put your fan hat on. What would you like to see in the future, from these tracks? With that could be special classes, special races. Remember when we used to have the women's race and driving with the bag over the head and the backwards races and the school buses and
I think something like that is great for any racetrack. Something that is out of the norm. If it's a monster truck, if it's an intermission race, I think would be phenomenal for a track. Like our scrappers, they run at the end of the night. Run them. If you pay attention to the stands, I watched it last week.
Because a lot of people don't, they don't.
I watched it last week. I'm sitting out there racing my car, and whenever we got done, I pulled up there and shook James Dockery's hand after he won. And I looked up there in the stands. They're done.
Oh, yeah, they're cooked. Yeah.
Well, guess what? Nobody's seeing the next race that's getting ready to happen. There's only 2 cars out there. Well, you know why there's only 2 cars? Because nobody up in that stands knows that's going on. It's not necessarily it's Jimmy Westerfield's fault or anybody else's fault, but if you had that race in the middle of the intermission, those guys, I understand it might take away from their burger sales. It might take away from their hot dog sales. But if you had that in the middle of that intermission, think about that. Think about the people that get impacted from that. Or, I've always said this a long time ago, have a raffle car. Mm-hmm. They used to do it back in the day.
No, they did.
If you had a scrapper car, it's a raffle car. $10, $5, whatever it is. $5 for six tickets. You're giving somebody out of that stands an opportunity to get in that, to get that, what I call it, an addiction. Mm-hmm. And if you get them in that addiction, they're going to be back there every week to be able to do that. But if you don't ever see it, you'll never do it. And if you don't ever get to experience it, you'll never do it.
Well, and that's not something that just has to be a 1-week deal. If you get a scrapper car, unless it gets just completely demolished,
right?
But you're going to pay. If you get enough people raffling in on it, because people are going to do it,
right?
And you're going to pay for your $300 car that somebody got off of somebody.
Get a sponsor. Call somebody. You can get a sponsor and get a car. I mean, there's junkyards all over the place. They would love to have their name on the side of that car out there just the same.
Yeah.
And you're raffling off that car. You get to keep the car at the end of the night. Yep. Just like the buddy ball deal with Robbie up at the Demolition Derby. I mean, he raffled that car off, supported a great cause with that deal, invested all that money back into the buddy ball. He got to keep his car at the end of the night. He's going to Derby in it next weekend.
Now, for those of you that don't know, he's talking about Robbie, but if you can find him on Facebook, it's Scrotum Yoder.
Right.
Know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? No.
Yeah, that's it. That's him. But, I mean, those kind of things right there get people enjoying what's going on out there instead of just sitting up there and talking about racing. You get an opportunity to get in that car.
Well, everybody's up there playing on their phones anyway and talking, when during intermission, and you got like when Jake invited me up there, I had a great time, and I was hoping people were listening.
Right.
But they're milling around and talking and doing things, and so while it's a great thing, I want people to listen too, but engage people.
Right.
Because that's the thing you're talking about. Kids being on their damn cell phones. They're not looking up to see what's going on. Yeah, they're out there, motors going by, but they're. I
watch my own kids do it all the time. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But you got to get some involvement in there. Yeah. Where those kids are out there on track, bike races, that can be a thing that's done at intermission.
Now, we don't have to have a 3-hour intermission. Obviously, we don't have to do that, but we can do it in a
timely manner. I mean, this goes for Kentucky Motor Speedway, Cedar Ridge, Windy Hollow, all your tracks. You've got to get the family involved. If the family involved, just like my wife told me today that she's out on racing, I'm done. You might as well just get ready because I'm out of the race car. I'm not going to do it unless she's out there and my son's out there with me.
It's a different time.
I mean, it's just, if I don't have my family with me, I don't want to do it.
But that's what you do. That's your family time.
That's my family time. That's which I spend time with my family every day. And I'm blessed to have my wife and my kids to be there with me. But, if it wasn't for my son saying, hey, I'm out of racing, I want you to do it. I'm trying to get him into racing, But without that, that's how I got him into it, is putting the foot forward to get him in there. Yeah. So as a racetrack promoter or a racetrack owner, I think that's one of the things that the tracks need. They need more involvement with the stands.
Yeah, I agree.
Because without the stands, you have nothing.
Well,
and then
don't disconnect, your fans from your racers or your track.
Right, right. But if those people have,
that's what I mean, though. It's what you're getting at. Is engage those people.
Right. If you have a fan night, bring out a class once a week and put all those cars out there so the fans and the kids can come out there and meet those people. Yeah. We did that, or they did that down at Nebo. You know how many kids walked up to me? I had no clue who they were. I didn't even know the people. Oh, we love watching you race. That's a great thing. I enjoy it. I know it takes up a little bit of time, but if you allot whatever the intermission is, 30 minutes, and you allot that 30 minutes in intermission to do that, it can be done. And you're still going to make the same sales that you got back here in the concession stand, because after they get off that track, they're going to walk right back there and get their food.
Mm-hmm. And come back and get ready for the features.
So I think that's where racing needs to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a fan sitting up there, if it was me sitting right there, I'd love to be able to see a raffle because I'm going to put in on it. Just like at Buddy Ball, I anteed up for that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I'd love to have had a shot at that.
Yeah.
I did Demolition Derby back in the day. Don't know if I could handle it again, but I would try it again. That's what the crowd needs to be able to have.
Yeah.
They have to have some type of opportunity to do something with the racer to get closer to the racer. Because, we used to have car shows in town for the racers. Yeah. You don't have them anymore.
Well, look, and ain't that crazy? I was going to say that earlier real quick, but, the race cars have looked the prettiest they have ever friggin' looked now. And we're not spray painting numbers and having cars beat the fenders plumb beat off of them.
No, we're wraps and paint. I mean, I got a ton of money in the paint and work and body work on our two of the cars we got.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of time in that car. You don't see it from the stands. But you get up on our cars, and you're talking about some time and money spent on them cars. There's a lot there, but nobody sees that unless you get down there close.
Yeah.
And, just having a car show at Lowe's or at Texas Roadhouse or whatever, that's great. That's showing your sponsor.
Let's do it 3 or 4 times during the year.
Or do it out there at the track.
Yeah.
Have those cars pull out there on the front stretch, Let those kids get out there and see the people and interact.
Yeah.
That's interaction because, there's a gate between us. Yeah. There's a gate between that stands and us.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it, but they still got to interact.
Yeah.
Getting pictures made and stuff like that. There's kids out there that want to do that. I had plenty of kids last year coming up there to Nebo and was like, it was fan appreciation. Do you have a picture of your car? Sure. Here they were. What's $1?
Yeah.
I think the photographer out there charges $1 a photo.
Yeah.
I mean, if you spend $20, I mean, it's 20 pictures that a kid's going to go home, stick on his wall. At some point in time, that kid might look back at that and say, I'd like to do that.
It's all about perception. It's all about perception. And,
and I don't have all the answers because I'm a big dummy. That's why I'm driving a race car.
I feel what you're saying.
I mean, because you ask anybody that drives a race car, well, you're dumb. You're dumb for driving a race car. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm having more fun than you on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night.
That's right. I come home satisfied every night.
Yeah. Well, man, I really want you to get to you sponsors, and I want you to tell us who makes it happen. I know you big in with the M&M crew now with Melvin and Bill and Chris and all of them, Colton, and tell us about that, because that's one of the main reasons we're here too. So
Right. Well, I got it. First and foremost, I got to thank my wife and my kids for allowing me to be able to do this, because without them and their support, period, I couldn't do what I'm doing. I mean, because my wife puts up with a lot. I mean, I work a lot, and putting in the race car time and everything else, she allows me to do this. Got to thank Melvin Miller. I can't thank him enough. That man spends a ton of hours in the garage to keep our cars to where they are today. Right. I thank his wife. She supports all this. Bill Mormon, Colton Crisp, Chris Bunch, Josh Johnson, Donnie Fair, Nikki. All them people that's a family, And I didn't know that until I got in real. I raced for Melvin back in the day, I think it's 2008 or 7. I drove his car. I didn't know how big of a family that was until you get around them,
Yeah.
They all hang together. They all run together. They do things together.
I've seen them stack 3 deep.
Right.
Every week coming to the track.
Right. I mean, we can haul up to 10 cars a night to the track. I know that sounds stupid. We could probably haul more than that if my son was racing and with the women racing, 15 cars. There's no doubt about it.
Have our hashtag 15 cars. I've heard it.
So, I mean, without them people, I couldn't be where I'm at. I got to thank Greg's Collision Center and Auto Service for what all they've done. Like I said, M&M crew. There's a few other sponsors out there. We don't really have a whole lot of sponsors this year. Bobby Dennis, can't thank him enough for the horsepower. I mean, he's got it dialed in. I'm sure there's some
people.
He's
built them for years.
Right. I'm sure there's some people I'm thinking. I got to thank my son. He does help me. He's right there beside me whenever I'm going out to the track. Jonathan Brown, JB Productions. He sponsored the tires and stuff on the car. Napa Auto Parts. Got to thank them. Which I'm a Napa Auto Care, so it's kind of hand in hand.
There you go. We want some Napa money.
Huh?
I said we want some Napa money.
Yeah, we all do. Napa know-how.
Yeah.
I give you the know-how. I don't know about the money, but I give you some know-how.
You do that.
But, yeah, I mean, that's about... I don't know anybody else. If I'm forgetting somebody, I apologize. I think Egler's on our car. Willie's Carburetor. I can't thank him enough. They do sponsor our crew. They take care of a lot of stuff. Will Krupp and all them, they do a lot for us. We get parts and stuff like that, so they take good care of us. Anybody I've ever forgot, apologize. But
that's okay. Well, that's the thing, man. Here's the thing. I think that we've.
I mean, the M&M as a whole. Yeah, there's where you're at.
Well, I think we've gone through a ton of stuff today,
right?
And I think that you've got more in you. It's just like a lot of different people, like Billy Egler and different people. I know there can be a part 2. This is a first for many. We want you to come back.
Yeah. There is. I mean, there's people out there I know I've forgotten. I mean, Randy Robinson. I mean, those people right there, I didn't even touch base on any of those kind of people that I was there with. Barry Snyder, I did touch base about him. But Dwayne Richard, I mean, we had a good long racing career together. We raced against each other. I mean, rivals.
No,
I mean, to do it. But yeah, I mean, there could be a part 2 to all this.
And that's the thing, is so many stories from the past that people just don't know, and that how we could just classify. We can't classify it all. I mean, we'd have to have 50 shows, but who cares? We want to get to 50 shows. We want to get to 500 shows.
Yeah.
And we want to get it all out there.
Right.
So, but Shane, I want to thank you, man, from the bottom of my heart, and from Wes too. Like I said, when we started out this show, this meant a lot to me, because I wouldn't be in racing, man, if it wasn't for you.
Right.
And not that I've done anything special that I don't think. Maybe I have. Maybe people looked up to me. Maybe they looked down on me. I don't care.
There's people that look up to you. Everybody. I was one of the people that don't look up. You
look down on me.
There's a lot of people.
Tall,
there's a lot of people that don't look up to me, but there are a lot out there, and a lot of people that I didn't even know. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that look up to you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. And like I said,
you've done a good job in what you've done, and especially this. I mean,
I've always tried to do what everybody's taught me to do and try to be the best person I can be. And I've been a turd sometimes too. And of course I was a kid at one point. So
We're all there.
Yeah. But
As long as you go home happy every night, that's all that you got to worry about.
that's right. That's right. Well, Shane, thank you, buddy, for coming on. And, we hope to get you on again, and we appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We'll be back to close this episode out.
Are you looking for a hometown barbershop specializing in the best haircuts in Western Kentucky? Master Barber Chad Thompson has everything you need to keep you looking sharp for not only your special occasions, but for every day as well. Offering a line of haircut products to take care of your hair between cuts. Walk-ins are welcome, and you're always going to find friends and neighbors at Chad's. You can find Chad at 10655 Highway 764 in Whitesville, Kentucky, or you can give him a call at 270-903-8183.
And we're back for the outro here. That's the official name for it. It's the closing to you.
It is.
So the checkered flags have waved. We're in the pits. We're all bruised up, beaten, bloody. We fought.
Bumper driven.
We are been bumper driven because Shane has done it to me. No, we hadn't fought. No, but we're back in the pits. We're all decompressing from the episode, and car rolled on the trailer. I think it's been another successful episode, and again, I knew we'd get something awesome. I knew it, and he's got more to give, and I challenge him to come back because I know he's got more to say.
He's a great guy. I mean, this was my first experience meeting him. Passionate, super passionate about what he does. You can tell it's evident in his, not just his racing life, but his family life. And, if it's not for the people that make it happen for him, he's not going to do it. And I think that extends beyond his racing team. That extends to tracks and promoters.
Yes.
And, it's all part of it. You have to be present in the moment. You have to want it.
Yeah, and he does. And, that's the thing about Shane Sullivan that I've always known. And just like I started out the first show and telling you how kind of, how it all came to be. Who knew that he'd be in produce at Kroger on Starlight Drive, and I'd be a sacker and carrying groceries out, and I'd spend my breaks over in the produce section. Him, trying to make him look as bad as I could. Him not working or whatever, but but he took the time. To talk. And, I miss those. I kind of miss those days at Kroger where, we'd all just hang out and just have fun. And, it's not like, where I work now where, most people, and it's not a bad thing, but people are just not fans of racing.
Right.
We had guys out there that I never would have thought come to a racetrack, looking back on it now. And, as much as, people have called me pork chop and different things over the years, that's where it started. That's exactly where it started. And I didn't get to ask him about it, and I should have. And
well, we'll save that for part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And he came up with it. I don't know why he came up with it, but he did. All through school, I was known as Tex.
Tex?
Tex, yeah, I was. And, there was 3 Texas, not 3 Texas. There's 3 Tex, apostrophe S.
Individuals named
Yes,
Tex.
individuals named Tex, yeah. There was one from Apollo, where I went. There was one from Davis County, and there was one from Catholic High. And we're all 3 different people, and we never really bumped into each other too much, but that's just the way it was. And I've always kind of been red on the head, red on the neck, red night, white socks, blue ribbon beer. Man, that was a song. But that's the thing, and I've always been that guy, and I'm just common as dirt. And he gave me that name, and I was like, I don't like it. And then he's like, well, you're pork chop. I was like, it took me all of about 2 minutes to be like, okay. And everybody's known me as pork chop. I
kind of think that, for the most part, if Shane wants it, that's how it's going to be.
It was back then. Yeah, it was.
I think that's how it's going to be.
Hey, man, here's the thing. It's a guy I've always looked up to. And, he has helped me out in racing. And we drifted apart. We did. He took a break from racing. And hell, I tried to get him to come back and drive my car and wouldn't do it. And, a bunch of people tried that. Because I know what kind of driver he is.
Sure.
And I know he's not going to take it easy on the equipment. He's going to push the equipment, but he knows what he's doing. And I trust that guy. You know what I mean? And, anyway. So, I don't want to – I know he wouldn't want me to either, smooch on him too much. But, it's important to me. And it's important to my career. And just like the Revlets have been. And, Chris Anderson stepped up and helped me out. And, Keith Martin and different people. And it's – he talked about Danny Falloway.
Right.
Danny Falloway has always been a friend of racing. He always sponsored a car of mine, And here's the thing, his grandson is racing now and some of his family. and that's where he should be sponsored
Sure.
and things like that. That's why I wouldn't, do that today. But too many days, and we didn't get to talk about that either. How many days I spent with Shane out in the junkyard, him out there working on his car, and me just hanging around. I didn't have a car.
I'm gonna have to step away from the mic for a minute to get you a tissue.
Yeah, no, but
You're all
but he
you're all
didn't.
misty.
But here's the thing, he didn't have to do that.
Nah.
Tommy Brown, everybody knows One-Eye Tommy Brown. Kind of in bad health these days, but you can't find that character anywhere else, man. If you just talk to him 5 minutes, he's crazy, and he is so freaking likable, and he has so much fun doing what he's doing. Just hanging around the junkyard out there,
Right.
and I spent my whole summers doing that, and I remember that. And
Well, and I think a lot of it goes into showing the man you are today as far as your racing product and the pride that you take in your machine. And, even when I'm out in the garage with you, just standing and watching you do stuff, you want me to be involved as much as possible. And I think that breeds a lot. That breeds pride. That breeds respect into what you're doing. And I think that, he saw that in you and helped cultivate that. Right. So, and I think we've heard so many other people that we've interviewed echo those same sentiments. If you start and you pay your dues and you turn your wrenches and you do those things, it makes you a more respectful human being. It makes you a more respectful driver. Right. And you're not going to get out and do stupid things on the track.
Well, here's the thing. He came up that way. He made me do that. Casper and them made me do that. Jason Capps made me do that. He made me turn those wrenches. He made me get in there and learn. And I'm not taking credit for anything that William Thomas ever did. And former bomber champion. And but he's my best friend, and one of my best friends. And we've been together for a long, long time. And he got into racing, starting out, hanging out with me. And you know what? I made William do. Hey man, here's the thing. The good thing about it is you can make them do what you don't want to do. I did it. I don't want to clean those valve covers. I don't want to wash the tires. But hey, that's the way you got to do it, man. And you got to do it with your own racing team. But I tried to do that to William when he started out because I wanted him to learn. I had him cleaning up valve covers in the floor at Chris Anderson's garage in Rumsey. That's how he started when he went up there and started working on the car with me. But you know what? William learned, and he's had success in what he's done. And you can't take that away from him. And he still comes to help me. So that's the thing. I'm not taking credit for it. I wouldn't take credit for it. He's done what he's done on his own. And but he started out around me, and I tried to help him that way. And here's the thing: if you just give them a push off, they can become their own person.
Sure.
You need to let them become their own person.
Well, I mean, here I am. I've been on the push end of a scrub brush. I've scrubbed tires. Yeah. And I've started helping and learning and all that stuff. And it does. It makes you appreciate it. And one of the things that Shane said was, and I think we've heard this again, when you have people who are invested, and it's not just in the drivers or the race teams, but when you have people that are invested in the product as a whole, it makes it more enjoyable. Right. So when you do things that bring the fans in, when you get, give access to the fans, to the drivers, then they start becoming invested. And we've seen it, a couple weeks ago, we spent an entire weekend, going to races. And we went to Florence, we went to Hobstadt, we went to Windy Hollow. The races at Florence and the races at Hobstadt were fantastic. They were amazing races. But my best night, the night that I enjoyed the most, was at Windy Hollow. Because I looked on that track and I knew those numbers and I knew the people that were behind those wheels, and I felt connected to those guys because I know them. Yep. So once you do that, it just makes it that much more enjoyable for everybody.
Well, and that's the thing. We hear stories and legends and different things. But here's the thing, man. If you heard stuff about people. Now, if you didn't know Bill Moorman, okay? If you didn't know Bill Moorman personally and had raced with Bill Moorman, which I have, and I've known him for a long time now. But there's still so much I don't know about Bill, but that I've heard about Bill.
Right.
That how that guy can do this and do that in a race car and do this. And some of that stuff I've seen, but some of the stuff I've never got to see, but I want them to tell that story.
Sure.
I don't want you to, well, how come people say this about you and to say that you can do this? I mean, you have it. Can you do that? And stuff like that, and that's going to be awesome. And it's stuff that these people are larger than life, man.
Yeah.
And it shows, and they've got legends that precede them. But we need to get those stories out there, and we need to tell people what they're all about, and we need to let them say what they're all about. And because here's the thing, anybody can tell the story, but you're not going to get the 100% story until you talk to them.
Right.
And that's the main thing.
Agreed.
So, that's part of what we've done here today. Whenever I was talking about Shane as a link from the past, and I'll name a group of drivers, and it's a lot of the M&M guys. Bill is there, Bill Mormon. Shane Sullivan is one of them. Bobby Wilson's one of them. Donnie Fair's one of them. Those guys, they used to race back in the mid-'90s. And they took a long break from the sport for, family things or different things. And they're back. And you know what? They're having success now just like they did then.
True.
And it's a different game. But maybe, hey, those are old school drivers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just different classes, different equipment. Old school drivers. That's the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we're seeing that. And I think that we got to try to keep those guys in the sport if we can. It may not work out for them, not those guys specifically, but I'm just talking about older drivers coming back. It may not be the right time anymore. There's a time and a place for everything. But I think that's the thing we got to look at is that they're a bridge to the past too.
Sure.
Because let me tell you, when we talk about, just like we did several times, we talk about back in the day. Those are the guys you're talking about. These are the back in the day guys. And these are the guys that can tell you now, back in the day, how it was and how it is now.
Well, and if it wasn't for their struggles, if it wasn't for their fights, their victories, if it wasn't for all of that stuff back then, we wouldn't have what we have now.
Yeah.
There may be some gripes and complaints here and there, but racing's good. People enjoy it, and we have them to thank for it.
Well, that's the thing. If you're not a fan of old country music from the 50s and the 60s, there wouldn't be any of these modern, and you may. That's a slippery slope. I should not use that because a lot of people don't like modern country. But you know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be, these
Right.
guys wouldn't have come along. These people that are selling millions of records and millions of dollars worth of concerts and whatever, they wouldn't have come along without, your old school guys.
Yep.
So that's the thing. That's where we're trying to get. And I think we did a great job with it today. I don't think, like I said, I don't think we got it all.
No.
I think there's a ton more. And I think that if we can get, even then, if we can get all those M&M drivers together, with Bill and Shane
Yep.
and Colton and, Bobby and all of them and Donnie, that's an episode right there. It's an episode that writes itself. Man, I don't even have to do anything. I don't need the questions. I'll say, hey, take it away.
And go.
Yeah, exactly. And they would. And you know what? They'd probably continue a fight they was having in the garage an hour before they got up there. And it was like, I told you, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
And not hilarious, but it'd be heartfelt because they're a race team and they're a family. And we're all family.
Yep.
And that's the good thing about it. So, anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode today as much as I did recording it because it was important to me and I wanted to do it and I just hadn't got the chance to talk to Shane until about a week or so ago. It's so cool to me, man. And when I do an episode with Teddy, or if Teddy Revlin, or an episode with Casper or something like that, if I could ever get Jason to come on, I would hope he would. I'm gonna try to make that happen, but I want to. I just like I said, I can't thank him enough for doing it, and it meant a lot to me. And he told me yesterday, and like I said, this was off all the air, and we were texting each other, but he told me that it meant a lot to him to be asked. So that's cool. And he gave some suggestions of people we needed to get on here as well. So.
Good stuff.
That's what we're looking for.
Always good stuff.
Hey, we talked to Eric Wetstein yesterday.
Yeah.
And, boy, he wears us out, and I love it. I love it because he's engaged with it, and
It makes us feel like what we're doing is important and is good and
Yeah.
is being received well. So
and he did, and we want to give him a shout out. And Eric, thank you for what you keep doing and telling people about it and getting people out there. Eric Hayden's done the same. Jake Shounds told people. Different people, and we hope that tell a friend. It's just like racing. You do it or you listen to it, tell a friend. Say, these guys are crazy, dude. You got to listen to these guys, man. They're nuts. It's the dumbest 2 hours you'll ever get. No, it's not. Right?
I think before the end of it all, we're going to be every member of the Tierney family is going to be close personal friends of us.
They are. They're cool.
They're awesome people, and they've shared at Lee's episode, and keep doing it. It's fantastic. We love it.
Because here's the thing: if you share it, then your friends are going to see it, and they're going to be like, because there's people that's liking the page. Up over 300 likes. Hey, guys, listen, I hadn't forgot about this. I shouldn't have said nothing. Damn it. But anyway, I really should get this out there. I haven't forgot about the giveaways. We owe you a giveaway. I definitely for the what was the hitting 250?
No.
300?
I think it was a small number.
It was.
And
And here we are. We're over 700 and something downloads, guys.
Yeah, absolutely destroyed.
I mean, just killed it, and that's awesome. And so we've got the giveaway for that one. I told you we do 2 giveaways, and now, by golly, we've got to add a 3rd giveaway because we've hit 300. So maybe we won't. I don't want to do them all at one time. That's the thing. Maybe we can do 3 in a row, or 3 weeks, or 3 different places. So we'll feed the baby birds because by golly, you're making it happen. It's all you guys. It's not. It's us. It's not even us. It's our guests and you guys.
It's fans in the stands.
Fans in the stands. So anyway, thanks guys for doing that. Now, with having said, I haven't forgot about it. It just got to get it worked out. So I apologize if it's taken a couple of weeks. That's my fault. But we were trying to get a car together too. So cut us some slack. Racing is not cheap, guys. We keep telling you.
We learned earlier. It's a 7-day-a-week program.
What have I said? What have I said on this program 3 or 4 different times?
Racing,
and who said it?
Racing starts on Sunday.
It does. It does not end on Sunday. It begins on Sunday. And just like he said, you can start as soon as you pull off that track. And he's exactly right. That guy right there told me that, and I've always taken that to heart. So anyway, man,
let's get out of here.
Yeah, we probably better.
Who we thinking?
Well, we are thinking Mach 5 race cars, parts, and carts. Fairview IT Management, Martin's Towing Recovery, Chad's Barbershop, Glenstone Construction, Slingshot Media Group, Octane Racewear Graphics and Apparel, Willie's Carburetor and Dyno Shop, Billy Igler specifically with helping us with that, Casper Racing, Phantom 309 Racing, Blaze Mountain Racing. Now, if you want to find us on Facebook, Conway Racing Team, excuse me, that's wrong. Conway Racing Team on Facebook, at Conway Race Team on Twitter, Instagram, Conway Racing, our website, www.conwayracingteam.com. You can find us for the podcast
all over the place. For you iPhone users on Apple iTunes, you can find us. For Android users on Google Play, you can use the Podbean app or Podbean website. You can use Podcast Addict. You can find us on Stitcher, on TuneIn, on Spotify, on YouTube. You can get access to the podcast from our website or through our Facebook page. Just anywhere you turn, there's the podcast.
Right. Now, another thing is, support your local racetrack. I know Cedar Ridge, at the time of this recording, June 2nd, Cedar Ridge is off tonight, but Windy Hollow is racing on Sunday. Windy Hollow Speedway, going to have a big show.
Rockport Raceway
running is racing tonight. So now, see, you have something to do.
Yep.
You don't have a damn excuse. Go out there and support Josh Tyler and those guys out at Rockport Raceway. That track is phenomenal.
Watch those go-karts run 2 inches off the ground.
2 inches off your heart.
Yep, absolutely.
So 2 inches off the ground, 1 inch from your heart. So, but no, it's pretty cool, and they're doing it. They're keeping the thing going over there. They had a little cart count that was down last week, or the week before. But hey, that's okay. They're gonna get back.
Doing the darn thing.
It's their 3rd race.
Yep,
so
doing the darn thing.
So anyway, support that. Support Rockport Raceway. If you support any other form of motorsport, go out and do it. We got the Davis County Fair coming up in about a month. They're gonna have all kinds of motorsports out there. So go out there and support that.
Yep.
Definitely support the radio show Monday nights, Maloney's in Owensboro. Regional Motorsports Power Hour, host Blake Smith. You can find them on 102.7 ESPN The Game and 94.7 WBIO. Again, 7 to 8:30 every Monday night. It's well worth your time. You get 25% off.
Specialty pizzas. So you can eat for cheaper than you would have had. I guess unless you cooked at home. So anyway, so support those guys. Regional Motorsports Power Hour. Always check out Performance Racing Weekly, Billy Igler's channel. He's got some great archive stuff, and encourage him to get us some more driver interviews. So I think he will. So, man, have we covered it all? I think blanketed all over.
Yeah, throw a blanket over the top 5.
Don't know who's going to win.
That's right. Hopefully it's us. But anyway, so again, guys, we can't thank you enough, and you guys keep it going, and the guests keep it going. Because when we contact a guest and they're interested in doing it, and I have about 6 guys and ladies that's lined up, just got to get them on here.
At least.
So we're hoping to record again here in a couple of days and have you something new. Maybe Demolition Derby.
Maybe.
So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
So we don't want to give it away too quick, but we might have some of that coming. So we're really going to bend some fenders by golly.
Swapping paint.
Yeah, whatever we have to do. So anyway, guys, thank you again. Appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate you helping us. Is that it?
That's all. We did it.
All right. We did the thing. Another episode. Episode 12. Get it. So anyway, for Wes, what were you? Oh, the tire site.
Yep.
Tire site Blue Allen. I'm Nathan Conway. We've run out of stuff to say.
We
didn't. We're just saving it for next episode. Hey, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
You've been listening to the best up-and-coming motorsports podcast on the internet. Tune in next week to see who we're trading paint with on the Bent Fender Podcast.